Boston, Massachusetts for the lone Little East Conference game of the night on the women's side, and what a game it is. UMass Dartmouth 10-0 for the first time in program history in conference play against a 9-1 UMass Boston team that's still a little bit salty after their 30-point loss 3 weeks ago at the Tripp Athletic Center. It should be a great one today between a pair of teams that excel in slightly different ends. UMass Dartmouth, the top 10 scoring offense. UMass Boston, one of the better defending teams in the entire nation. And we'll have it for you here right on the Beacons Broadcast Network after this commercial break.
The 5-campus UMass system is the university that educates the workforce of Massachusetts. We recognize that we are truly here for a reason, and that recognition inspires us and drives us every single day.
And welcome back courtside as the teams warm up behind me. You look at the all-time series between these two sides, and it looks pretty one-sided. UMass Dartmouth leads 51-26, but when you consider that this UMass Boston team struggled for the first 20-25 years of conference play before finally making to the conference championship game 3 years ago, this is actually one of the closer matchups for UMass Boston. The Beacons have been red hot, winning 4 of 6 before UMass Dartmouth went on a 5-game winning streak, including a 15-point win last year in the LEC quarterfinals and a 30-point win down at UMass Dartmouth. The Beacons are going to look to change the tide here. They have not lost at home this season, 9-0, outscoring their opponents by nearly 20 points per game at the Clark Athletic Center. To do that, they're going to need a lot better performance from their seniors. First and foremost, it's Raven Kelsey. Kelsey, a second-team all-conference player a year ago, really struggled this year at UMass Dartmouth, period. The Beacons started the year down at UMass Dartmouth for a tournament, and Kelsey was very passive offensively. Same kind of thing at UMass Dartmouth 3 weeks ago. She was one of 3 seniors who combined to shoot 1 of 18 from the field. The Beacons are going to need a much better performance from Kelsey, Lydia Vital, and Katie Matthew. They're going to look to upset a UMass Dartmouth team that's ranked 6th in the region in today's NCAA Division III regional rankings. Right now, we'll take a look at the Beacons' last home game. It was a blowout win on Thursday. UMass Boston down Dean College 81-44.
Looking for a better way to get up out of bed instead of getting on the internet and checking a new hit to get it. First shot, drip strut walking, a little bit of humble, a little bit of cautious, somewhere between like Rocky and Cosby's for the game. No, y'all can't copy yet. Bad moonwalking, this here is our party. My posse's been on Broadway, and we did it all way. Grown music, I shed my skin and put my bones into everything I record to it. And yeah, I'm on that stage light, going shine on down. Got that Bob Barker suit game and Plinko in my style. Money, stay on my craft and stick around for those pounds. But I do that to pass the torch and put on for my town. Trust me, I'm my INDEPENDENT shit hustling. Chasing dreams since I was 14 with the 4-track bustin'. Halfway across that city with the back, crush shit. Labels out here, now they can't tell me nothing. We give that to the people, spread it across the country. Labels out here, now they can't tell me nothing. We give it to the people, spread it across the country.
Here we go back, this is the moment, tonight is the night. We'll fight till it's over, so we put our hands up like the ceiling can't hold us. Like the ceiling can't hold us. Here we go back, this is the moment, tonight is the night. We'll fight till it's over, so we put our hands up like the ceiling can't hold us. Like the ceiling can't hold us.
Now, can I kick it? Thank you, yeah, I'm so damn grateful. I grew up really wanna go fronts, but that's what you get when Wu-Tang raised you. Y'all can't stop me, go hard like I got an 808 in my heartbeat. And I'm eating at the beat like I give a little speed to a great white shark on shark. We walk till I go off, gone, deuces goodbye. I got a world to see, and my girl, she wanna see Rome. See, so make you a believer now. I never ever did it for a throne. That validation comes from giving it back to the people now. Sing this song and it goes like, raise those hands, this is our party. We came here to live life like nobody was watching. I got my city right behind me. If I fall, they got me. Learn from that failure, gain humility, and then we keep marching.
And welcome back to the Clark Athletic Center. My name is Seth Dorensky, joined by Gigi Braga. Gigi, the first game, UMass Boston not only played one of their worst offensive games of the year, it looked like they were a bit intimidated by a UMass Dartmouth team that has some swagger after an Elite 8 run a year ago. What do you think the biggest key for UMass Boston today mentally is to not allow a similar outcome, especially a blowout loss like that first one that kind of demoralized the Beacons for a couple games?
Yeah, Seth, I talked to a couple of the players actually before the game, and they even mentioned to me, they were like, we can't be scared of players that they have that are averaging, 20-plus points a game. And you got Nakira Exmon, who's an amazing player. She was the LEC Player of the Year last year. But when you get a team like this, and the Beacons have known, they played the Corsairs a couple of weeks back, and they got shut down offensively. They didn't perform defensively, and they just let the Corsairs players kind of get into their heads a little bit. So definitely leaving that loss that they had 2 weeks ago behind them, kind of moving on. It's a clean slate. It's a new game. They're playing at home. They've never lost at home this season so far. So this is good for them. The home court advantage is going to be good for them, and expect to see a little bit more out of the Beacons today, a little bit more out of their freshmen, and also, the 3 seniors that they have coming back, as you mentioned in the pregame show.
Yeah, we talked about the 3 seniors combining for a 1 for 18 night. It wasn't much better for UMass Boston's leading scorer, Joie Grassi, who went 2 of 17. The 4 for the starters outside of Shania Osborne and went a perfect 5 for 5 in limited minutes. Those 4 players shot 3 of 35. Certainly a place the Beacons could improve today. You see the standings. Dartmouth at 10-0, UMass Boston at 9-1, Southern Maine a distant third at 7-3. They'll still get a crack at UMass Boston next Wednesday at home on Valentine's Day. But the Huskies are going to really be hoping, if they have any chance at a number 2 seed, that UMass Boston loses this one. And those are the only 3 teams that are really in any kind of region for a top 2 seed. We'll move along and take a look at the statistics. And this UMass Dartmouth team, not the top scoring team in the conference. That's Western Connecticut State, the top scoring team in the country at just under 89 points. But they're very, very good offensively and a good rebounding team, meaning the Beacons are not only going to have to play some better defense this time, they might have to score at a higher rate.
Absolutely. And then you get players, and that's when their big-time players come in, and they're 3-ball players. You got Joie Grassi needs to be having a good game. Shania Osborne, their bigs need to excel, because the Corsairs do have those big forwards that can rack up a lot of points, a lot of rebounds, and that's something that's going to be challenging for the Beacons forwards today, is containing those players and trying to limit their points in the paint, and then working in transition. That's something that the Beacons definitely need to capitalize on today. They can't just focus on points here and there. They need to capitalize on transition. You get a turnover from the Corsairs, which might not happen that often, but you need to capitalize, get 2 or 3 points out of that possession. Well,
that's one of their bigger struggles. The first time these 2 teams combined for 47 turnovers, but Dartmouth had a huge edge when it came down to points off of those turnovers. Take a look at the team leaders, and you talk about bigs. It all starts with Nakira Exmon, one of the top players in the country, defending LEC Player of the Year, averaging a double-double. And then Alicia Cutiel, just behind Examon in scoring. Those 2 players, 29th and 30th in the country in scoring. So those are the 2 the Beacons are going to have to really focus on UMass Boston side. It's not just been Joie Grassi. They're very talented freshmen out of Plymouth. Seen a lot of good work from Lydia Vital, Raven Kelsey, Katie Matthew, and a slew of other freshmen, as this Beacons team has just 4 upperclassmen, 4 non-freshmen on this year's team.
Well, you wonder how well Alicia Cutiel plays, and let's put it this way, she's 42 points shy of being the first all-time scorer at UMass Dartmouth. She currently has 1,281 points at the school. So to put that into perspective, she's coming into her senior year, she only has a couple games left to play, but at the rate that she's going now, I don't see how she doesn't score those 42 points and, take that lead over.
It's not going to last very long. As long as Nakira Exmon avoids injury, she should certainly pass her teammate. But yes, it does show how good Cutiel and Examon are, likely to be the number 1 and 2 all-time scorers in program history for a team that's still looking for their first ever regular season title. UMass Boston, UMass Dartmouth, and Keene State, only teams in the 8-team LEC that's never won a regular season title. One of these two should break that slump this year. I'll take a look at the coaching staffs right now, and our two coaches are standing right next to each other, so we might be able to do both of them if we can get one of our cameras on there. And to the right, it's Matt Ducharme. His 4th season, he was named the LEC Coach of the Year, year number 1, after being the longtime assistant coach for now UMass Dartmouth AD Amanda Van Voris. He's had a lot of success, including leading the team last year, gotten it large bid, and made it all the way to the Elite 8 before losing to Amherst. On the other side, Christina Ball is looking for a similar run this year with her team. 3rd-year head coach who spent quite a few years at Central Connecticut State prior to UMass Boston. She's already been to one LEC championship game, one more than Matt Ducharme, in fact, and she's had a very successful career. The Beacons this year with 19 wins, already tied for the most in program history, and she led the team to 16 wins in her first year. So she's had 2 of the top 3 winningest seasons in program history in her first 3 years. We'll take a commercial break, be back with the starters and our keys to the game right here on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
Paris changed my life, and I got there through UMass. Those very specific seminal moments in Paris, the subway. A man in a tuxedo walked in, and a woman in a long gown. And it was stunning. It all hit me. It was like a lightning bolt. There was this world of beauty and style that I wanted to be a part of. That was the beginning of the journey. And that all came through the University of Massachusetts. And that was really a key moment for me. That's one of those moments you never forget.
While we have a moment, we'll take a look at the UMass Dartmouth starting lineup. And Gigi, this team might be stronger than they were back on January 17th. Chelsea Houlihan, 2nd in the conference in assists per game behind Plymouth State's Deborah Morrill. Ashley Brown has been very good offensively after not playing the past couple of years due to some family issues. Returns to the team has been huge. We've already talked about Examon and Q-Till, 2 of the top scorers and rebounders in the conference, but Leah Dowdy's the player to watch. Dowdy was not available against UMass Boston that last time out, and she's a player who provides a little bit more of an offensive scoring spark and one of the few 3-point shooters on this UMass Dartmouth team.
Well, she's averaging 10 points per game, and, 4.4 rebounds and 1.8 assists, and she's one of those players that's going to play. She's going to be a role player. She's not someone that we talk about, time in and time out, and, of course, she missed that game against UMass Boston in their last meeting, but she's one of those players that you look to show up, you look for her to play in her role and, get those extra points that Examon and that Q-Till miss, and you can definitely look for her to rack up a couple of points here in today's game.
We're going to take a quick break for the national anthem, play the UMass Boston starters, and then our keys to the game right here in Boston.
The University of Massachusetts Boston. It's just minutes from downtown, and the Princeton Review calls it one of the best values in the country. A nationally recognized institution of academic excellence and research, UMass Boston offers more than 150 undergraduate and graduate programs, 16 Division III sports, and more than 100 student organizations. To learn more about the opportunities waiting for you at UMass Boston, visit in person or online. UMass Boston, a research university with a teaching soul.
My name is Joie Grassi. I'm a freshman. I'm a forward, and I'm from Plymouth, Mass.
My name is Lydia Vital. I'm from Cambridge, Mass. I'm a senior, and I'm a point guard.
Hi, I'm Shania Osborne, a freshman center from Fairfield, Connecticut.
Katie Matthews, senior guard, Coventry, Connecticut.
Raven Kelsey, senior guard, Boston, Massachusetts.
You just saw the UMass Boston starters. Gigi, we talked about some changes for UMass Dartmouth. Leah Dowdy being available today. Jess Korzik, the midseason transfer, might be a little bit more accustomed to some of the schemes UMass Dartmouth runs. The Beacons are in a tough spot. You were talking to some of the players. Nair Mitchell, who was playing good defense against Nakira Exum that first meeting, she unfortunately suffered a knee injury, unavailable. Sarah St. Surin's a question after suffering a face injury against Rhode Island College. We're going to have to see some Beacons maybe play some more additional minutes than they're used to playing due to some of the injuries.
Well, the key here for the Beacons is, Shania Osborne limiting her fouls. In their last meeting at UMass Dartmouth, she picked up, I believe it was 2 or 3
Two fouls in the first 5 minutes.
Well, there you have it. And that's something that when you don't have Nair Mitchell, when you don't have Sarah St. Cyr, and one of your 2 taller Beacons here to give Shania a little bit of a break, that puts a lot of pressure on her. She knows that she can't give up a lot of fouls. And a lot of Beacons are going to have to step up and maybe play a little bit of a role that they're not used to playing. Play some good defense on Q-Till, some good defense on Exum, and we're just going to have to see. They're going to have to be up for the challenge.
Take a look right now at our keys to the game, and we've already talked a little bit about some of them, but for UMass Boston, it could be these 3. There's certainly a couple more things. When you're talking about a UMass Dartmouth team that's only 3 losses are to 2 nationally ranked teams and 3 regionally ranked teams in the top 5 in the Northeast, this is not going to be an easy game for a UMass Boston team that has rolled to victory for the most part here at home.
Well, the big thing right there is that first key right there. The Beacons can't be intimidated by UMass Dartmouth. In their last game, there was a couple of extracurricular activities. A bunch of these Beacons, you have to remember, they're freshmen. They're not really – takes them a couple of games to get accustomed to playing, LEC play and getting kind of in the groove of these things. And a bunch of the Corsairs players are all returners. You get most of their, starting lineup are all, junior, senior players who kind of know a little bit about the experience of the game. So the freshmen here today are definitely going to have to step up a little bit. And the seniors, as you said in your third key, they're going to have to play a big role. They did not have a big showing in their last meeting. And, Vital can sometimes go off for an amazing game. She's kind of that driving force that can lead this Beacons offense.
UMass Boston still in their huddle will be wearing the home whites. On the other side, UMass Dartmouth will be wearing the navy blues and the yellow numbers with a little bit of white stripes as the Corsairs are on the floor in their starting 5. And one thing to watch with these 2 sides, talking about extracurriculars, UMass Dartmouth, since I did go down to the first game to take some pictures, UMass Dartmouth trash talks, which is not irregular, but I don't think you see it as much in the women's game. And I think that threw some of the Beacons off their game. So that's something the Beacons coaching staff was talking about prior to today's contest. It'll be Nakira Exum and Katie Matthew. So the Beacons, I guess, are expecting to lose the tip. Katie Matthew has never taken a tip before in her career, and she's just going to back off, and the Beacons will concede possession. Don't see that quite often. Down low for Exum, and she's able to get between Grassi and Osborne for an early 2.
And that's something that the Beacons early on can't have happen. You got 2 players down there in the paint. There's 2 Beacons, 1 Corsair. Can't let her get a point on that.
Well, especially when you're expecting the ball to go to Exum as Osborne gets the roll, and it's 2-2. Both teams centers with early baskets. This time they'll spot up Q-Teal on the block, working on Grassi. She throws it up the right hand, is short, and Osborne rips down the rebound.
Something that you don't want, and it might happen often because both players are so tall, is Osborne and Grassi both going for the rebound at the same time.
Kelsey in the lane, unable to finish, and the rebound ripped down by Leah Dowdy, the senior out of Framingham. UMass Dartmouth team as they throw it away. Chelsea Houlihan looking for Q-Teal down low. Pretty much brought back all their top players from a year ago. With the exception of Rachel McCarron, they brought back all of their top rotation players for their top 5 starters. This year's team is going to graduate quite a bit of talent. We're talking about Dowdy, Alicia Q-Teal, Chelsea Houlihan. So it'll be interesting to see what they're able to accomplish as Raven Kelsey's called for a cheapie after the turnover.
Well, something you mentioned there, Seth, is the Corsairs are returning 13 players, and the Beacons are bringing in 13 new freshmen. So that's something that, it's a little flip-flop there on both sides, but not to say that, the Beacons freshmen can't keep up with these 13 returning Corsairs.
Foul was actually charged to Shania Osborne. Bad news for the Beacons. Houlihan nearly traveled. Instead, it's Exum able to finish amongst the pair of Beacons. She's got the early 4. In that first game against UMass Boston, Exum had a terrific game, 24 points, 13 rebounds, in 32 minutes of action.
Well, that's something that Examon has the upper hand on Shania Osborne. She's a little bit more athletic. You know, her range is a little bit more than Shania's is. Shania's more of a bigger center.
Kelsey kicks it out for Matthew from the corner, and the Beacons have their first lead.
And Katie Matthews is such an excellent three-point shooter, you know. She's a big threat. A lot of people focus on Joie Grassi from her statistics early on in the season. They don't realize that Katie Matthews is just as good of a three-point shooter as Grassi is.
Not as much of a high volume in this year's team as Matthew grabs the rebound, able to find Vital 2-on-2. Vital nearly traveled there, able to bobble it enough and get it away. Matthew, though, has been red hot. Now 24 of 54 from behind the arc, second best in the LEC behind Grassi. Matthew will try it from the near wing this time, off the mark, rebound loose, and Examon has the rebound for UMass Dartmouth.
And that's going to be a challenge there for Shania Osborne and Joie Grassi, picking up those rebounds that your guards do miss on their shots.
Q-Till this time able to throw it over the lip and gives her team the lead back at 6-4. Good early pace between these two sides, just about 3 minutes in. Gianna Williams already at the scorer's table for UMass Boston. She'll likely be checking in for Osborne, who the Beacons are going to try to keep fresh. Matthew across for Vital, down low for Grassi, and able to finish amongst the trees.
And what a pass there from Lydia Vital. The senior point guard has such great vision of the game.
It's a very difficult pass. Throw down low for Examon, double teamed by Matthew and Osborne, and this time she's too strong with Osborne getting there first. Ball gets kicked around a bit there, and Vital able to pick it up. Strong defense from Chelsea Houlihan to nearly force the turnover. Grassi looking for some movement up top for Osborne. Now the Beacons go with the pick, trying to free up Grassi, working on Q-Teal with the left hand over the contact and in. And the Beacons are shooting quite a bit better than the last time they faced UMass Dartmouth.
And that's something you love to see from Joie Grassi, is drawing that contact, and Shania Osborne with a great block there on Examon. But again, Joie Grassi working on Q-Teal. She drew the contact. Maybe should have been an and one on that play, but you know, the refs call what they call, but that's something you love to see from the freshmen stepping up big there.
Vital around the double pick up top for Grassi from straightaway three, in and out, and the rebound falls to Brown. UMass Dartmouth has looked to get out in transition, ahead for Houlihan, underneath of Grassi the block, and it's out of bounds. It'll stay with UMass Dartmouth. See that first substitution of the game? It'll be Williams replacing Osborne, and Jelani Jackson will check in for Vital. A little bit of a surprise, but Beacons are going to try to keep maybe a little bit more senior presence out there today than they have the last couple of games where they've gone with 4 or 5 freshmen. Q-Teal underneath Grassi, a perfect veteran move, and the lead is 1 for UMass Boston.
And that's what makes Q-Teal so lethal, is you think she's going up one way, and all of a sudden she makes a quick move, so slick with it, and just puts it up in the basket for 2 easy points.
Jackson up top for Williams, a little bit outside of her range for Kelsey, contested 3, well short. Houlihan the rebound, immediately looks ahead, finds Brown over the shoulder of Kelsey, throws it off for Examon, and that'll draw the foul on either Matthew or Williams. We talked about UMass Boston needing to get out in transition. Instead, it's been Houlihan leading the charge for UMass Dartmouth. And the foul is going to be on Katie Matthew. So 1 on Osborne, 1 on Matthew. And Examon, who's not a terrific free throw shooter, will head to the line for 2. Short on the first. This is her biggest struggle. 52.4% from the free throw line. 44 of 85. So the Beacons will go deeper in their bench, with Kelsey and Matthew taking a seat. Megan Dixon in there along with Alicia Quinones. Examon 0 for 2. The pass ahead for Quinones, a sophomore out of Stoughton, Mass. Out there with Dixon, who's the Beacons' second best three-point shooter out of Hanover, Mass. Dixon for Williams, working on the bigger Examon, and she travels.
Well, that's something that, you know, Johnny Williams, great idea there, but I think that's just one of those cases where your brain is thinking a little bit quicker than your feet are, and you get caught in there, and the ref's right down there, 2 feet away from you. No way that wouldn't be called.
Grassi goes for the steal, gets help from Jackson. Q-Teal underneath. It's been a fun battle thus far, as Q-Teal has back-to-back baskets, and the Corsairs lead by 1, 5 minutes in.
See, if you're the other big there on UMass Boston, if you see Joie Grassi's getting beat, you have to step over. 2 hands up can make a difference.
Dixon, a deep 3 off the side of the rim. Jackson able to pick up the long rebound. Gigi, I would say 95% of the time that's true, but with Nakira Examon, I think the Beacons coaching staff is saying you can't leave Examon. Let Grassi work one-on-one there as Williams picks up dribble, tries to find Dixon. Beacons retain possession with 14. Jackson calling out directions. Down to 9 on the shot clock. Dixon's wide open on the far side. Grassi the catch. Double team comes. She's blocked. Gets it up again and finishes off the front of the rim with just a second left on the shot clock.
The resiliency there from Joie Grassi. I believe she's already has 6 points in this quarter alone.
Examon powers her way to the basket. The Beacons are bringing the double team from the weak side, but struggling to slow down Nakira Examon. Strong start for both sides. 12-11 in favor of the visitors, the Corsairs, in this battle of the UMass system. To the near side, Grassi for 3. Front rim, no good. Another long offensive rebound. Down low, looking for Williams. It's out of bounds. And we've got our first media timeout. UMass Dartmouth 12, UMass Boston 11. We'll be right back here on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
Celebrate the soggy shoes and the slow starts. Celebrate the lessons learned along the way. These are the wins. Not the shiny, nail-biting kind. These are the last a lifetime kind.
(12-11) in favor of UMass Dartmouth. 3:47 to go in the first half. And Gigi, when you look at the stats from that first game where the Beacons not only shot a season-low 15.9% from 3, they shot under 30% from the field. This has to be a better feeling. The Beacons didn't get past 14 points in a quarter in any of those 4 quarters. Game number 1. At this point, it looks like they're likely to do that here in quarter number 1 and be in a much better spot as compared to game number 1 heading into the second quarter.
Well, the three-point shooting for the Beacons haven't been so great in this first quarter, but then again, it's only 5 and some change minutes or 6 and some change minutes into this game. Katie Matthews getting a little hot there. Joie Grassi saw her throw a couple up. They're not falling now, but you got 3 more quarters to play in the game. It's warm-ups, first quarter's warm-ups for both teams, I should say. The Corsairs not as big of a three-point shooting team as the Beacons is, but give it a couple more quarters. We'll revisit that question in the fourth quarter.
Beacons go back with Osborne and Vital. Osborne nearly has it stripped, and it is stripped away. Houlihan with the good work. Brown out ahead of the pack. Grassi making up room, taps it back from behind. What a great play from Joie Grassi, who put on a little bit of the speed there to chase down the smaller Brown.
And once again, you see Joie Grassi heading off to the bench right now, and that's all they need. They need to get that stop right there. Let the Beacons defense reset a little bit instead of giving up those 2 easy points in transition. She's
replaced by Kelsey Examon the catch, and they're going to call the foul. That could be 2 on Shania Osborne, which would not be good news if you're a Beacons fan. They are going to get Osborne. The Beacons have been called for 3 fouls, 2 on Osborne, who's been one of their better offensive players the last couple of weeks. And Gianna Williams right back at the scorer's table. She's going to have a lot of work to do defensively.
Well, you see the problem with Shania Osborne getting those 2 fouls called on her so early on in the game is not only the offensive end, where she is, one of the few Beacons that was getting hot in their first game that they played and is in this game as well, but the defensive end, she is one of the Beacons that match up size-wise the best to Examon.
Examon 0 for 2 her first trip, 1 for 2 this time around. Beacons out there with Vital, Kelsey, Williams, Quinones, and Dixon as Quinones missed the streaking Williams. Examon is going to play defense on Quinones, at least to start this possession, with Williams working against Teal. Dixon works around a screen. She's driving hard and able to finish over Kaylin Milligan, the junior out of Lakeville, Mass, just into the game, alongside Jess Korzik, the transfer out of UConn Avery Point.
And that's what you want from the Beacons right there. A player like Megan Dixon, you don't hear her, posting up in the paint so often because she's such a great 3-point shooter. But when you get someone who, I'm sure Matt Ducharme in his scouting report said, 25, Megan Dixon, great shooter. But when she gets that little pump fake and drives to the lane, you love to see her getting those 2 easy points and then a stop for the Beacons defense right there. They're right back in it.
Danielle Gonzalez, the junior guard out of Pawtucket, comes in to man the point with Houlihan heading to the bench. Down low, Beacons try to force it. Saved by Vital, but she finds Teal. Not sure if that was going off the Beacons. And then the Beacons are called for a foul that
shouldn't have. No, that's
very little contact.
Yes, and you saw her running back with her arms up. You know, she might have just not seen the players and didn't mean for the contact to happen.
That was Jacinda Lambert along with Cliff Carney and Matthew Moniz, the referees in this one. And that's one where it's fine if you're calling that a non-conference, as Examon able to finish over Quinones, but the coaches have been harping in this conference all season long. There's got to be a little bit more contact allowed in these conference games because they mean so much more. You don't want to see the 10th, 11th players making the game. As finally we see our first foul in UMass Dartmouth, and that's inevitable as Korzik doesn't give much contact there, but I think the referees feel like they see it's 4-0 and they're immediately going to give it up. So they're actually going to get Gonzalez on the foul. Q-Till to the bench, and the Beacons are going to send Grassi back out there. A little bit of a chess match between the two coaching staffs as they're going to try to get Grassi some moments away from Q-Till on the offensive end.
That's a smart play over there by Coach Rashina Boz. You got Q-Till working on Grassi the entire game, and you get her a couple minutes in there without, you know, such a big presence of Alicia Q-Till, and try to get Grassi some points, get the Beacons in the lead.
Vital looking for an option, finds Williams trying to get it down low for Grassi. Good defense, and Grassi able to save it, and it's out of bounds off of UMass Boston. Good defensive work there by Lauren Empey, the freshman out of Middleborough, Mass, in for Q-Till. And Q-Till tried to save it and ended up off Empey, off of Q-Till and out of bounds.
I think you mean Grassi on that one, right? Because Q-Till's on the bench.
Correct. Grassi, another block. The conference's leader in block shots. Already has 2 here in the first quarter. And it'll stay with the Corsairs with 19 to go on the shot clock. Examon on the catch, too strong. Gets her own rebound, too strong a second time. And Gianna Williams with the rebound. We'll get a tie-up. Gonzalez able to get in there. But it'll stay with UMass Boston because we've already, oh no, they're going to call a foul.
Yeah, that was just, that one I agree with. You get Danielle Gonzalez kind of stripped Gianna Williams a little bit of that. And, you know, it wasn't really so much of a jump ball because she purposely went for it, drew the contact on her arm.
So 1:39 to go, 2 fouls on the Corsairs, 4 on the Beacons. Grassi draws contact and Examon charged with her first. Examon held her hands up for a while thinking that was the incorrect call. And that should be 2 free throws upcoming for Grassi. Should be the first 2 of the game for UMass Boston.
And that's something that if you're the Beacons offense, you're looking to target Examon, Q-Till. Some of their top shooters and top point scorers in this game, try to get them in some foul trouble. The Corsairs have done that evidently with Shania Osborne there. But if Grassi can keep working on Examon like that throughout the second half of this game, it's going to be a long game in terms of fouls.
Grassi too strong on the first, hits the second, and the Beacons are back within a point. Beacons in some full court pressure. Vital tried to get the strip, unable to do so. A nice crossover dribble there by Korzik. Korzik started her career at Rhode Island College, kicked out to the near side for Empey, who knocks down the long 2. Korzik started at Rhode Island College, where she was an all-rookie team member. Then she went to UConn Avery Point, junior college, before joining the Corsairs midway through the year. Grassi wanted the ball down low. Instead, it's Vital from distance. Rebound falls to Williams. A lot of contact there by Examon. Could have been her second, but no call. Under a minute to go, 20 on the shot clock. Vital gets a screen near side, and the Beacons will swing it over for Grassi. Dixon was wide open. NBA 3, front rim no good, and Gonzalez loses it. It's out of bounds off the Beacons. Grassi couldn't quite keep it in.
And the hustle just in this game, in this quarter alone, I should say, from Joie Grassi is just evidently so much better than anyone else on the floors, both on the Corsairs and on the Beacon side. She's just hustling to every play. Even the balls that she doesn't think is out on the Corsairs, she's going after them.
About a 15-second difference between shot clock and game clock. It's Gonzalez from the far side, drives baseline all the way around to the near side where she finds J.B. Williams. Williams overthrows Korzik, but she's able to make the catch on the second effort. The under scoop and a nice play by Jess Korzik pushed the lead to 5. Shot clock turned off. The Beacons, with their largest deficit of the game, would love to get some points before the second quarter. Vital drives hard, and we've got a tie-up. It'll stay with UMass Boston as Gonzalez got her hands on the ball.
And Gonzalez and Vital, and that's just a matchup that you kind of love to see right there. You know, both players that are quick on their feet, and they know when to help out their bigs and get those steal opportunities.
Both benches calling out directions. 10.4 to go. Shot clock turned off. Vital, the inbounder, has Dixon wide open on the near side. Spot up three. Drains it, and the Beacons are back within two. Dartmouth, though, pushing out in transition. Ahead, it's Milligan. Milligan drives. The floater is good, and the lead is back to 4 at the end of 1. But, again, a much closer first quarter than we had 3 weeks ago down at UMass Dartmouth. A much closer quarter than we saw in any of the first 4 quarters. So the Beacons, while not being happy in a deficit, certainly have to feel better about their effort here in Boston.
Well, in that play, in a sense like that, and what makes the Beacons so lethal is their three-point shooting abilities. And you run a play for Megan Dixon, specifically for someone from a three-point shooter. It's simple. It's catch and shoot. And she executed that perfectly. You know, and the Beacons were on a run a little bit right there. But when you have 5 seconds left in a quarter and you're getting some momentum, you can't let a player like Milligan or any of the Corsairs actually drive through the entire court and lay up, you know, 2 easy points right there. That's definitely a crusher on the Beacons' momentum.
We're going to take a quick commercial break and be back. It's UMass Dartmouth by 4 after 10 minutes.
Something I discovered in myself is that if I have a goal, I can accomplish it.
It's a well-rounded experience.
At a Division III school, you primarily a student athlete, so the school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual.
It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
UMass Dartmouth is going to come back with Examon and Q Teal joining Gonzalez, Korzik, and Milligan. So they're 2 bigs along with 3 bench players. The Beacons are out there with Grassi, Vital, Tajay Mazik in for the first time, along with Gianna Williams and Megan Dixon. It's Q Teal unable to convert. And the ball loose with Vital having to get away from Danielle Gonzalez. Mazik's been one of the Beacons' better scoring guards off the bench, freshman out of Connecticut. Down low for Williams, and Examon able to corral the loose ball. One thing that really hurts UMass Boston with no Shania Osborne out there is Williams is just not as confident on the offensive end. Q Teal from 3, too strong, and the rebound is loose. An over-the-back call on Examon, and that had been very close several times, and this time the smaller Mazik able to draw it. That's 2 on Akira Examon. What the Beacons were trying to do the first game, they finally did this game. She didn't pick up her second foul, game number 1, until the 4th quarter.
And that's just amazing there by the Beacons offense. And I think it took a smaller player like Mazik for the refs to notice that extra, you know, push and shove that was going on there. Because when you get a tall player like Williams or Grassi or even Osborne, it's a little bit hard to distinguish, you know, what's contact and what isn't.
And you got to give credit to Mazik, who put a butt on Examon and didn't give in. The Beacons will now give up the ball, but chance if they can get at Examon a 3rd time, they could really force her to sit. As Williams comes in from behind, might have gotten ball, definitely some contact, no call. Vital around contact, and we've got a blocking foul on Milligan, as Vital was able to get just enough around Milligan to draw the foul, and that's 2 early ones on the Corsairs.
And, you know, speed is Lydia Vital's, should be her middle name, I should say, because this girl just gets the ball and she flies up and down this court, and not many defenses can keep up with her.
Vital, also the Beacons' best free throw shooter by a pretty wide margin. Keene State transfer sits at 80.7%, good for 3rd in the LEC. Vital, a local player out of Cambridge, Mass. Spent her first 3 years at Keene State, including becoming a starter and a all-defensive team member as a junior when she led the Owls past UMass Dartmouth and then past Eastern Connecticut State to earn their first ever LEC tournament title. Examon will sit with 8:47 to go in the second quarter, replaced by Lauren Empey. This could be a turning point in this game. UMass Boston can really take it to the Corsairs.
Something that the Corsairs are doing is they're never leaving Q Teal and Examon on the bench at the same time, which is a smart move, I should say, by Coach Ducharme. But that's what the Beacons need to capitalize on a little bit. Try to get QTL into some foul trouble as well. See if you can get both of them on the bench and let the Beacons offense do what it does.
It's Grassi working on Empey. Out of bounds off the hand of Empey. Beacons will send out Raven Kelsey and Jelani Jackson. No, it'll be Megan Dixon and Lydia Vital heading off. Thought Joie Grassi might be joining them on the bench. Jackson, the freshman out of Brockton, looking for an option, needs to get it in, and she'll throw it for Kelsey well beyond the three-point line. Kelsey, a strong drive, can't finish over contact, and it's Gonzalez with the defensive board. Head for Milligan and back for Gonzalez, drives past Kelsey, and she's blocked. Beacons have at least 3 or 4 blocks here in the first 12 minutes. Head for Jackson, had 2 options, tries to find Kelsey, and they're going to say it's out of bounds off UMass Boston. And everybody up in our broadcast booth is a little bit confused on that call. So it looked like it clearly went off the hands of the Corsairs.
And I'm sure Coach Christina Baugh is a little ticked off on that one, as we clearly saw a hand of a Corsair launch out and redirect that ball. So not so sure what the refs are thinking on that play.
Yeah, you saw Kelsey retract her hands and immediately indicate that it was tipped, but the referee did not agree. QTL working with the right hand again. She's missed 3 straight since coming back on. Jackson around Gonzalez, has Mazik on the far side. Mazik drives around Empey. She's blocked, and it falls into the hands of Korzik. Korzik has Milligan out ahead, but she'll keep it herself. Korzik into the corner for Milligan. Mazik tries to swat it, and Milligan way too strong, but QTL is there, and the putback is good to push the lead back to 4.
There's such an athletic play over there by Alicia QTL. Gets the rebound on one side, quick swift move to the other side, and lays it in for 2 easy points.
Corsairs have 3 players at the scores table, including Houlihan and Brown, a pair of starters. Up top, Kelsey left all alone for 3, drains it, and the Beacons are back to within 1 as they'll get a timeout. See the ball racing onto the floor to make sure that she was able to call that timeout. And we'll take a stoppage along with the teams. UMass Boston back to within 1, 7:06 to go before halftime.
I'm the first undergraduate alumnus to lead this university. I'm very proud of that. I was literally able to transform my life because of the University of Massachusetts, and I want that for every single student that walks through the door.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III.
I did receive academic scholarships. Just being involved on campus, being a leader, all those things combined kind of get me recognized. It's a great experience for me.
Well, we've got a moment. We'll take a look at our UMass Boston Athletics social media. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at UMass Beacons. We'll have highlights later on tonight, as well as a recap on beaconsathletics.com. My name is Seth Dorensky, joined by Gigi Braga. And so far, Gigi, this is exactly the kind of game we expected. A lot of athleticism, pretty good work in the post by both teams. And both of these teams showing that they certainly have more athleticism and depth than the rest of the LEC. As Brown goes hard to the hoop and finishes after nearly falling. Seen some really good basketball from Ashley Brown this year, who was an all-rookie team member back in 2014. Took a couple years off, but what a key addition to this year's team. Whitney Fulton into the game for the first time for Williams from the elbow. She can't quite finish. Grassi's there, drew some contact, and she's blocked from behind on her second effort.
Now, I don't see how there's no foul drawn there. I certainly thought on the first time she went up that there was some contact there.
Houlihan down low for Empey, kicked across for Dowdy, who was the 3rd player to check back in. 4 of the 5 starters right out there right now, with the exception of Examon, replaced by Empey. Brown, a perfect pass, and Empey finishes with the left hand to push the lead back to 5.
And that right there is what Ashley Brown does, and that's how she's so lethal. Is, you know, you get 4 players drawn on defense to just one specific player, and that's just the easiest dish right there. You dish it, 2 easy points.
Grassi needs help. Finally, she'll dribble with the left hand, tries to go downhill around Empey and can't quite finish. Williams draws the offensive board, and the possession arrow will stay with the Beacons after the tie-up.
And And you see Joie Grassi there on that play, and you know she wants that back a little bit. She did everything right. She just put a little bit too much on that shot.
Jackson on the inbound. She looks for Kelsey, who will spot up. Kelsey around a couple of players. Over to the corner for Jackson, who can hit the three. Back for Kelsey, working against Brown. Still 20 on the shot clock. Kelsey double teamed, gives it up for Williams. That's a deep two and knocks it down. A little bit outside of her range, but Gianna Williams with a big bucket.
Yeah, Williams coming up big there. I really didn't know she had the talent to get that shot off, but kudos to her.
Shania has attempted a couple threes this year, hasn't hit one. Brown and Cutiel, a two-woman game. Cutiel underneath, a perfect move. Alicia Cutiel is showing that she has quite a lot of moves in her arsenal. UMass Dartmouth is led by as many as 5 several times. It's 29-24 right now. Jackson, the stutter step move off the side of the backboard, no good. Into the front court, it's Houlihan trying to work over Jackson, and we've got a foul on the floor on Jelani Jackson.
And in basketball like that, when you're running out of play, and coach is always, yelling, stay low, move your feet when you're on defense, but when the player on offense is just moving at a faster pace than you are, it's hard for you not to get called on that reaching foul.
Both teams centers and 2 of their better scorers sitting on the bench with 2 fouls. Shania Osborne for UMass Boston, Akira Examon for UMass Dartmouth. Cutiel and Kelsey the floor. We've got a tie-up, and this time it'll stay with UMass Dartmouth. Ball into Brown, wide open from the wing, off the mark, and the rebound out of bounds off UMass Boston. And now the referee's going to have a conversation. It seems like every 50-50 ball out of bounds has gone the Corsairs' way. This time they'll make the change.
Hey, while we have a little bit of a break here, let me give a quick little shout out over here to UMB men's soccer, as head coach Jake Beverlin giving us a little bit of some hate there on Twitter.
Jake Beverlin has more time on his hands than any of our other coaches, so he's one of our biggest fans of the Beacons Broadcast Network. Williams across for Kelsey. Kelsey looked to drive, gives it over for Jackson. 5-point game with under 5 minutes to go in the half. Quinones tries to drive baseline, and it is out of bounds off Empey. Stick with the Beacons with 11 on the shot clock. Beacons going with Jackson, Quinones, Kelsey, Williams, and Fulton. Jackson for Fulton. She'll take the long two. It was potentially deflected, certainly altered by Cutiel, and that's a bad possession for the Beacons, who don't get a good look off. Houlihan pulls up across for Brown, down low for Empey, over Williams, and gets the finish. Largest lead of the game at 7 for UMass Dartmouth.
And something that you don't want the Corsairs to do is to get that lead so far out in this game that it's going to stretch the Beacons into a double-digit deficit, and that's just hard to come back from with this Corsairs offense.
Fulton over for Jackson. The Beacons send out 3 of their better offensive players to the scorers table. Jackson will try a deep 3, knocks it down. Huge for UMass Boston, and cut it back to 4.
And Jelani Jackson is one of those players that hits those NBA threes like it's nothing, and that's just something that you don't see from such a small player like that, but her and Megan Dixon are known for taking those threes.
Jackson just a 26% shooter from behind the arc, but knocked that one down as Cutiel keeps going with that right-handed hook shot. Hasn't been able to knock one down in a while. Quinones can't make the catch, and the Beacons turn it over once again. They will get Dixon, Grassi, and Vital back in there, as we've got Jackson, Fulton, and Quinones heading to the bench. And this is a much more offensive-oriented 5 out there for UMass Boston.
Oh, yeah, you got Lydia Vital, who is known for leading the Beacons into their offense. You get players like Grassi and Megan Dixon, who can shoot the outside shot, as well as Raven Kelsey.
Dowdy drew some contact, didn't get the call as she went down. Dixon all alone. Great job by Empey to close her down, and the steal by Brown. Brown racing around Vital. Williams is there, and Brown able to finish.
And honestly, I'm not going to lie, I really thought that was going to be a foul call there on Gianna Williams. I think maybe if Ashley Brown had added a little more drama to that one, she could have got the N1.
Drama's a good way of saying it. Brown, though, showed off the speed working around Vital. Grassi draws some contact, doesn't get the call, and it's out of bounds off the Beacons as Grassi was looking for a foul on that drive.
Let me tell you, that move right there by Joie Grassi, something that you see at practice all the time. Coach says, hey, you get contact drawn on you, just throw your hands up, pretend to throw the ball up like it's a shot, try to get you to the line for 2 points.
Vital looking for Dixon off the inbound. Dixon front rim, no good. Long rebound out of bounds off UMass Boston. 6-point deficit right now. UMass Boston with 2:45 left. Where do you think the Beacons want to have it by the time we head to the locker room?
Well, they got to have it within 3 points, within a possession's worth. That way it's easy to come back from a halftime deficit.
Dixon taps it out of the hands of Brown from behind. It'll stay with the visitors with 20 on the shot clock as we'll see Matthew come on for Williams. And the Beacons, they can afford to do that with no Examon on the bench with 2 fouls, and it'll be Grassi manning the 5. Dowdy will try a 3 over Matthew. Front rim, no good, and Vital taps it up like a volleyball to avoid Empey grabbing the rebound.
Lydia Vital is so short, but she plays such a big role on both sides of the court.
Grassi was wide open on the 3 as 2 Corsairs didn't recognize it. And then Dixon with the acrobatic steal. Dixon with QTL there, can't finish. Beacons are leaving points on the board. Brown in transition across for Dowdy, out top for Houlihan. For Empey, it's tapped away by Grassi. Now it's Brown, the floater, and somehow gets it to fall with 2 minutes to go.
And just back to that play, Megan Dixon gets that great steal. And then I don't know if she was intimidated by maybe the size of QTL or whatever it may be, but you got to finish those points, and that's what we're talking about in points in transition.
Biggest lead of the game for UMass Dartmouth at 8. Vital trying to do something about it and throws it up a little bit off the mark there. Back go the Corsairs in transition. Houlihan around Grassi, and Grassi's going to be called for the reach-in well before the shot. Should just be the first on Joie Grassi, but this Corsairs team has been really effective in transition, just like they were in that first game.
Joie Grassi is not a player known for picking up many fouls, but when you're playing 2-on-5, essentially, when 3 of your players can't get back on defense, you got to give up the foul to stop the transition.
QTL looking for Empey, and now she'll go hard to the hoop with the left hand. This one doesn't fall. The Beacons have a chance. 4-on-2. Kelsey behind the back, ahead for Dixon, and Dixon goes away from the basket with Matthew the near side. Matthew, a 3 from the BeaconsAthletics.com line, and it's good. Huge 3. That's kept the Beacons in this first half as the deficit back down to 5. I don't think we've seen a Corsairs 3. The Beacons have hit at least 4 or 5. Brown thought about the step back 3 for Houlihan. Houlihan working on the smaller Vital, throws it up short, gets her own rebound, throws it up again, and Kelsey called for the hack. She got a lot of ball, but a little bit of arm as well.
And the problem there for the Beacons on that play is, Houlihan goes up for her first shot, but gets her own rebound. When you got a player, you got 3 Beacons around her standing there, you got to jump up, you got to put your hands up. You can't let her pick up her own rebound because she's just going to go straight back up, and that's where you get the foul drawn.
Houlihan, 29 of 47 from the free throw line coming in today. Misses the first. We'll see Milligan replace QTL with 54 seconds left. Corsairs trying to avoid any foul trouble on Alicia QTL as Houlihan misses both. The rebound falls, though, to Empey. Kicked into the corner. Dowdy thought about it up top for Brown. Now back down low for Empey, and she's able to save it, but right over to Vital. Vital, the chance to go 3-on-2 to the near side. Matthew will dribble hard, kicks it out for Kelsey from the wing. A 3 is up off the front rim, no good. Empey is there, and Kelsey knocks the balance away from Dowdy. Ahead for Houlihan off the glass.
That's just the transition back and forth there, and the Beacons couldn't convert. And what do? They turn the ball over, and simply all you get is, what the Corsairs have been doing every single time when they run up and down the court is getting those points in transition.
Shot clock turned off here, final 30 seconds. Grassi had Vital, kicks it over for Kelsey in front of the UMass Dartmouth bench. Front rim no good, and the rebound falls to Dowdy. Still 3 seconds left. The Beacons cannot give up a basket. Thrown up, and it's short there by Milligan. So after 20 minutes, it's 37 UMass Dartmouth, 30 UMass Boston. Before I head down low, Gigi, any thoughts about this first half?
I think the Beacons need to do a better job of moving the ball in transition, stopping the Corsairs, as they're doing exactly what the Beacons want to be doing there. So fix that. I'm sure Coach Baugh is going to talk about that at halftime and see what the second half brings to them. We'll go to a commercial break. We'll bring you back with Seth and Coach Baugh in a little bit.
We graduate 17,000 students every year, and the vast majority of them stay in Massachusetts. We have over 280,000 graduates in Massachusetts today. We graduate people in critical fields, engineering, STEM fields. We graduate people with research experience where they can start their own companies. It is amazing to see what UMass graduates accomplish once they leave the university. I remember vividly my own graduation from UMass. It was a beautiful day. It was perfect weather. I remember the pride that my mother and father felt. I could see it in their eyes. Here it is, 30 years later, I get an opportunity to preside over UMass commencement. It is so moving and inspiring for me to think this is what it's for. Here we are, we have these graduates that we're going to unleash on the world, ready to take on the world, happy about the accomplishment, but also hopeful about the future. It's hard not to get emotional at a UMass graduation. You see that UMass is here for the Commonwealth, here for a reason.
Moving from Turkey, it was a rough journey for me because when you don't really speak the language that well and when you don't really fit in the crowd, it's very easy to disappear. But I decided not to give up, and UMass helped me.
I'm the first undergraduate alumnus to lead this university. I'm very proud of that. I was literally able to transform my life because of the University of Massachusetts, and I want that for every single student that walks through the door.
Head coach Christina Ball. Coach, the first game you were down by 13 at halftime. It probably felt like a little bit more. It's 7 right now, but you've been in it the whole way. How much different do you think your team's mentality is at this point compared to game number 1 against UMass Dartmouth?
We're fighting, and that's all I could ask for tonight. You know, battling injuries and just this point of the season, I just wanted to win the effort game and fight, you know, regardless of the outcome. And we're doing that right now, so I'm happy.
Transition seems to be the one place where they're really getting you. How do you work on your transition defense and maybe even your execution offensively as well?
Yeah, we've got to do a better job. We may send 2 back. That might be the adjustment in the second half. And then in transition offense, when we don't have something on the first or second pass, we got to come out and get a better shot, and that's not what we're doing right now.
Offensively, do you need to attack the basket even more in the second half, knowing you're going to see Examon probably for the full 20?
We just got to share the basketball and get uncontested shots. That's the goal right now, so no matter how that looks, we'll take uncontested shots.
Thanks so much for your time, Coach. Good luck in the second half. Right now, we'll send it up top and take a look at some highlights from the weekend. Women's hockey earned a pair of thrilling victories, almost at the buzzer, and we'll take a look at those highlights right now.
Follow me into the jungle.
Those were the highlights from UMass Boston women's hockey over the weekend. They clinched the 2 seed thanks to a big weekend from Jane Morissette, who was named to the D3Hockey.com Team of the Week after her 2 game-winning goals. We'll take a look right now at the team statistics from the first half. And while UMass Dartmouth did have a pretty big edge in field goal percentage, GG, the Beacons' ability to knock down three-pointers is a huge reason why the deficit is just 7. 5 of 16 compared to 0 of 4 for UMass Dartmouth. Everything else is pretty even, except for the turnovers, which the Beacons probably a lot sloppier than they would have liked to have been in half number 1.
Well, the three-point percentage, it's at 31.3%, but that's because, those couple Raven Kelsey missed three-pointers there, but Katie Matthews is just on fire right now, and I believe she's got 6 points, and all 6 points are coming from beyond the arc there, and she's feeling it when it comes to hitting it from the three-point line. And the free throw, also, I know the Corsairs didn't get to the line that much. Well, actually, Exmon got there a couple of times, but 75% shooting from the free throw line for the Beacons is something that's going to carry them on into this game, especially if they start getting Exmon to get a couple more fouls, maybe QT, any other players. It's going to come down to free throws in this close game.
UMass Dartmouth 1 of 6 in that first half. 2 numbers that aren't on that graphic that do stand out, though. UMass Dartmouth 28-8 edge in points in the paint, 7-0 in terms of points off turnovers. Things the Beacons are going to have to work on in the second half. Take a look at the team leaders. You mentioned Katie Matthews. She's one of the Beacons' top scorers thus far, behind only Joie Grassi. Grassi's been all over the place for UMass Boston. On the other side, Exmon in just 10 minutes has 9 points. QTL with 10 points. So that's 19 of UMass Dartmouth's 37. And those two combined to only play in 27 of the 40 possible minutes.
And like I said before, Grassi's her energy in this game is just, it's all over the place. And that's what Coach Boss said at the halftime interview with you, Seth. And she wants to win the fight. She wants to win the effort fight in this game. And Grassi's just one of those freshmen that's just exemplifying that. She's running up and down this court like it's her job. She's getting the blocks, she's getting the rebound, she's getting the points, and you couldn't ask more from a freshman player like she is.
Right now, we're going to take a look at the first half highlights, and we'll talk about some of these highlights, Gigi. It was a good start for UMass Boston, as we'll take a look right now at a couple of highlights from the first half. The Beacons were able to take some early leads, and really this was a nice skip pass over for Matthews. Hit 2 of the Beacons' 5 threes. Later on, it was Grassi, who's just been a different player than game number 1 when she went 2 of 17 from the field, aggressively working on QTL. On the other side, as we move along, UMass Dartmouth started to pick it up. This was a long 2 from Lauren Empey before the Beacons started getting it going from three-point land. You see, down by 5, a 3 from Dixon off the inbounds pass. Down by a little bit more later on, down by 4 at this point, and Kelsey able to cut it to 1 from straight away. And then in this next highlight, it's Jelani Jackson. The Beacons really have been feasting from behind the arc, as this is a long 3 from Jackson after the lead was stretched to 7. It was as many as 8. And then finally, the Beacons able to make something out of nothing here as ball kicked around Matthew. This is when it was an 8-point deficit. Gigi, as great as it is that the Beacons are hitting some three-point shots, they're going to have to be a little bit more effective within the three-point line if they're going to win this game today.
See, I think that the biggest thing for the Beacons going into the second half is just their defense. Their defense needs to be what steps up this half because they're getting their looks on the offensive end. And Coach Boss said that they need to share the basketball a little bit better. They need to start getting good looks. If they don't get the looks that they want on the first try, just remember that you have 30 seconds on the shot clock. You have enough time to kick the ball out, maybe move it around, try to find an open lane to get that easier shot instead of just throwing up random threes, throwing up random shots. Get a little bit more patient with it, try to break down their defense and get the points that you need. And then shifting over to the defensive end, like you said at the halftime show, Examond is probably going to be playing, you know, all 20 minutes of this half as she has 3 fouls to give. So you're going to see her a lot. You're going to see QTL a lot. That is such a threat for the Corsairs on their offensive end. The Beacons are definitely going to have to find a way to stop them.
Take a look right now around the rest of the conference. We don't have any scores to give you. Every other game postponed because of the snow in New England. On the east coast of Massachusetts, we mostly got rain, a couple hours of some very big snowflakes, but not much accumulation. Right now it is raining right behind us. Everyone else, they've either postponed their games to tomorrow or Monday. A couple big games. Southern Maine, to try to stay with these top 2 teams, needs that one against Plymouth State. The Beacons will see Plymouth on Saturday at 1 p.m. And the big one on the men's side, Keene State and Eastern Connecticut State, top 2 teams in the men's conference. Eastern at 10-0, Keene at 9-1. A pair of regionally ranked teams will play tomorrow night. Looking at UMass Boston athletics, a couple big games this weekend as UMass Boston, all of their teams heading towards postseason play are actually entering it this weekend. Men's basketball will host UMass Dartmouth tonight. Teams are sitting 4th and 5th in the conference. The Beacons have not hosted a home playoff game since 2006. UMass Dartmouth has done it each of the past 4 years, so one of those streaks is going to end. Women's hockey, already the 2 seed, will take on the team currently in 3rd in the New England Hockey Conference on Friday at 6. Men's hockey back at home for 2 final home games before the NEHC playoffs next weekend. They host New England College on Friday and Southern Maine on Saturday. And finally, track and field. It's the LEC Championships this Saturday at Rhode Island College. Should be a good one as the Beacons look to finish in the top 3 on both sides for the first time in a while. We'll take a look ahead for UMass Boston women's basketball. It's crazy. 3 games left, Gigi, and whether the Beacons win or lose this one, that game against Southern Maine next Wednesday, certainly the biggest challenge they have left if they want to finish number 1, number 2, or avoid finishing potentially 3rd.
Well, yeah, every team wants to be that top seed in their conference, but at this rate, when you got a great UMass Dartmouth team as we have here tonight, and if the Beacons can't pull off a win here today, their game against Southern Maine is going to be the biggest one, because if Southern Maine gets the upset and beats the Beacons, then they easily shift up to a tie for 2nd place, I believe. And the Beacons want to get as many home playoff games as they possibly can, and, you know, a higher seeding so that they don't have to see this Corsairs team any sooner than they have to.
Yeah, the top 4 teams host. I believe it's on Wednesday of that week, potentially Tuesday. Not next week, but the following week. And then the top seed would host the semis and finals. But certainly the longer you can stay away from UMass Dartmouth, the better. And also, if potentially UMass Dartmouth were to be upset or the top seed were to be upset, the 2nd seed would then get a chance to host. So you really want to finish higher up. And the same thing would be if UMass Boston were to win the number 1 seed. So UMass Dartmouth would love a chance to host. Right now, we're just 20 seconds away as we'll see UMass Dartmouth go with their starting 5. UMass Boston's yet to put 5 out there. JG, who's your player to watch here in half number 2 for UMass Boston, UMass Dartmouth?
I'm gonna go with Shania Osborne here for the Beacons. She didn't get to play a lot in the first half due to her fouls that she picked up so early in that half, but you get her going a little bit in the second half, and she's got 3 more fouls left to give in this game, and I'm pretty sure Coach Boss is going to leave her out there until she does give up all the fouls, and if that even happens. But I'm going to go with Shania Osborne for the Beacons, and for the Corsairs, I'm gonna go with QTL. I think she, Exmon is such a great player that she is, but QT is just such a bigger presence in the paint, I would say.
So the Beacons will go with their starting 5 as well. Vital over to Grassi. Osborne back in after spending just 4 minutes on the floor in the first half before picking up her second foul. She'll find Osborne. Osborne gets around and underneath Examon and able to convert for Shania Osborne, who's the Beacons' top shooter this year at over 70%. She's now 2 of 2 on the day for 4 points. Examon blocked by Grassi, gets her own rebound off the mark, but it falls there as it looked like it was going to bounce off the rim and instead slid back in.
If you're Coach By, you're telling your defense right there, she can't put her shot up, get her own rebound, and get that second chance.
Vital looking for a little bit of movement as Houlihan face guards her. Matthew back for Vital to the far side for Grassi, who's looking for an entry pass. Kicks it back up top for Matthew with 8. Matthew to the near side. Kelsey with the player draped all over her. Vital passed up the 3 with 3. Goes down low for Osborne. Has to get it up fast. Is not going to get there in time. Maybe the Beacons a bit too unselfish on that possession.
Well, I said it at halftime that you want to let the shot clock run a little bit more there and try to be a little bit more patient. But at the same time, you have to be aware of your bench, screaming out the seconds left.
Examon over Osborne. Rebound is loose, and it's Examon who runs it down. Examon underneath Osborne and too strong on the bunny. Vital in transition finds Matthew. One dribble to the basket is blocked. Kicks it out to Vital. Still tons of time on the shot clock. Christina Ball calling out directions. Her team down by 7.5. It's a 7-point deficit right now. Grassi working on Brown, and we've got a foul on the floor. It's going to be Ashley Brown whistled for the foul. Didn't see too many fouls on either side in that first half. Brown is whistled for her first.
You beat me to it there, Seth. I was going to say no teams have reached the bonus or the double bonus in the first half. And early foul here on the Corsair side. You might see if that's going to happen in the second half.
Vital for Matthew off the mark, and Brown in transition. Brown will leave it off for QT. Grassi got there, and we're going to get a foul on Joie Grassi. That was a lot of contact before the shot, and Grassi's asking where was the charge.
And I don't blame her for that. She tried to set her feet. Ashley Brown, though, doing a great job of penetrating the paint and just dishing it off back there to QT, and she got the foul. She got what they wanted.
QT, one of the better free throw shooters in the entire conference, knocks down the first. Alicia on the year, 81.5%, #1 in the LEC, just ahead of Vital, who's at 80%. QT, the senior out of Franklin, Mass., second team all-conference a year ago, goes 1 of 2. Corsairs are now 2 of 8. Left off for Grassi from dead away, and she's well off the mark. Don't know if she caught anything there. Joie Grassi frustrated with herself. Went 2 of 17 down at UMass Dartmouth, but she's one of the top 5 shooters in the conference, both on field goals and 3-point field goals. In fact, the leading 3-point shooter in the conference at 46%. Matthew comes across and steals it away like a cornerback of the Philadelphia Eagles, who just won the Super Bowl. I don't know if anyone was paying attention on Sunday. And we've got a foul from behind. That's my one Philadelphia shout out there for all of you New Englanders, as we've got our 3rd foul all of a sudden on Brown. That's actually only her 2nd. The scoreboard operator put it up wrong. And the Beacons will get it back because there's 2 early fouls in the Corsairs.
I'm just going to hold my words on that one, Seth. Eagles, well deserving of the Super Bowl. But man, does that hurt.
Beacons turn it over again. Kelsey's pass a little bit too strong there for Matthew.
Hey, at least we're doing a little bit better than our graphics operator, Rachel Maslak's team over there in Cleveland, huh, Rach?
Certainly have a lot of geographical diversity today in the broadcast booth. As Brown thought about the 3, now she drives into Osborne, lost the ball, but it stays with the Corsairs. QT from about 8 feet, front rim no good. Examon the rebound, and another putback as the lead is 10, the first time it's reached double digits for either side.
And Examon's move is just so good. She hangs in the air for so long that it's just, if you reach your hand over, you're going to get a foul, and that's perfect execution there by her.
Vital up top for Grassi. Had QT running at her way off the mark, but Osborne's there, and she can't finish. Batted around, and the rebound will come all the way out top for Leah Dowdy beyond the three-point line. This is a dangerous spot for UMass Boston, already down 10. Dowdy had Q-Teal, now she finds her, running towards Kelsey, off for Brown. 16 on the shot clock. Kelsey tried to get it, bats it around. It's picked up by Vital. Ahead for Matthew. Can she run it down? She can, but it's Brown who is able to save it. Now it's Grassi with the left hand, can't finish. Matthew had the rebound in her hands, and she can't finish. Beacons have not been effective in transition. Houlihan able to get Osborne to run at her, and Vital gets thrown to the ground as Examon finishes, and the Beacons forced to call timeout. 12-point UMass Dartmouth lead. They've stretched it by 5 since halftime, and will get a stoppage as the Beacons need to find a way to get themselves back in this game.
The University of Massachusetts Boston, with its scenic oceanfront campus, easily accessible to downtown Boston, is recognized as a model of excellence for urban public universities. 16 NCAA Division III sports are part of the more than 100 student organizations that create an engaging campus life in America's biggest and best college town. UMass Boston, Boston's urban public research university for the 21st century.
UMass Dartmouth has stretched their lead by 5 points here in the first 3:41. Gigi, this is the danger zone right now if you're UMass Boston. The Beacons with just 2 points here in the first 3:41. What are you drawing up here out of the timeout?
Honestly, you're just finding a way to stop this team from moving in transition, because they're just, the Beacons, Joie, Grassi, and Katie Matthew on that last play before the timeout there. You got like 3 or 4 chances to get that basket in, and you can't convert on any of those shots. And then you get a Corsairs team that they come down the court and they don't miss a basket, it seems like.
It's Vital looking for player coming off a screen. That was Dixon. She has the capability of going off for 15 to 20 points and a half. The Beacons didn't have her the first time they played UMass Dartmouth. Dixon looking for the entry pass for Williams. Now it's Matthew with 2 players running at her. Too strong. Rebound falls to Dowdy. Houlihan, the stutter step, looking to drive on Dixon. Tries to get it across, but she's called for the travel. UMass Dartmouth turned it over just 4 times in the first half. And held a 7-0 edge in points off turnovers.
See, if I'm UMass Boston here, though, another thing I want to fix is the rebounds. And you got players like Grassi, who I think has almost about 10 rebounds at this point, but it seems like she's the only one that's picking up those boards.
Grassi around Q-Teal and draws the contact and the foul. Believe that's just the first on Q-Teal, possibly the second, and it is the second. 3 team fouls now on the Corsairs, and Grassi heads the line for 2. This is one of those spots where the Beacons need to take advantage of some of these free throws, down by 12. Q-Teal knocks down, rather, Grassi knocks down the first. Grassi, the Beacons' leading scorer at over 15 points a game. Also their leading rebounder. Leads the LEC in 3-point field goal percentage and blocks per game. UMass Boston cuts it back to 10. For the Beacons, it's Dixon, Grassi, Williams, Matthew, and Vital. Houlihan over for Examon. It goes through her legs. Out there with Dowdy, Q-Teal, and Brown. Starting 5 for the Corsairs. 3 starters out there for UMass Boston.
See, if you're UMass Boston here now, though, you got that stop on the defensive end, and you try to get a nice basket here, try to get within, single digits in this deficit, and try to get your momentum going a little bit.
Grassi gets the very nice bounce there. She pushed a shot from the free throw line that hit the side of the rim and bounced down.
There you have it.
Cuts the deficit to 8. Brown around his screen over Williams and finishes. Ashley Brown has been a difference maker in both of the games this year. Vital in transition all the way, stutter stepping her way past Houlihan for the basket.
And Lydia Vital there, she says, hey, Ashley Brown, you know, you had a great run down the court. You got those 2 easy baskets on that layup, and hey, watch me do the same exact thing.
Houlihan has it tapped away from Vital, and now Grassi nearly loses it. Beacon showing better effort out of the timeout. Matthew underneath, can't finish, and Exum on the defensive board. Q Teal will run the break here as a power forward, can't collect, and Vital with it. This game has really sped up the past couple possessions. Beacons have cut a 12-point deficit down to 8, a chance to cut into it further. Vital out for Dixon for Grassi, just shy of the elbow, and she's too strong. Dowdy weaves her way through traffic, has 2 options. We'll give it off for Brown. Back out top for Houlihan. They'll set up in the half court. Exum on double team, goes off the knee of a player, and it'll stay with the Corsairs with 15. Down low, and Grassi gets in the way of that pass. UMass Boston starting to force some turnovers. They just haven't been able to add some baskets after them.
If they can keep forcing these turnovers, the Corsairs are going to start getting a little anxious. They're going to be a little frustrated with themselves, and that's where their defense starts to break down.
Beacons swinging around. It's Grassi a bit too strong. Dixon had the rebound, tapped out of bounds, and Brown tiptoeing the sideline, catches a little bit of the blue. That'll be a media timeout. It should be. Referees haven't indicated it yet, and now they will give the media timeout. So the Beacons on a small 4-0 run, but it's something at this point for UMass Boston as they trail by 8 with 3:18 to go in the third quarter.
Division III allows you to give yourself to other things.
Having that free time allows me to pursue the things that I want to pursue.
Division III athletics affords students the opportunity to, engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport.
It allows you to just be able to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Are you sick?
46-38 in favor of UMass Dartmouth. 3:18 to go in the third quarter. My name is Seth Dorensky, joined by Gigi Braga in a key Little East Conference matchup. UMass Dartmouth 10-0, UMass Boston 9-1. The Corsairs won the first battle by 30 back on January 17th at UMass Dartmouth. This one has been much closer. The largest lead of the game was UMass Dartmouth by 12 earlier on in the half, but the Beacons have been able to cut it to 8, and they'll have the ball out of the timeout. It's Vital, Matthew, Dixon, Kelsey, and Osborne for the Beacons. Kelsey working against Q Teal with the new 30. Kelsey kicks it around for Vital, but first the travel.
And he had Shania Osborne down there in the post, and they had left her wide open. And if Kelsey, I think even if she didn't get called for the travel, I don't think she really saw Shania Osborne down in the post there. But just great movement there by the Beacons off that break.
UMass Dartmouth with a couple of subs coming on. Danielle Gonzalez along with Jess Korzik out there with Brown, Q Teal, and Exum. Exum the catch, gets underneath of Osborne and finishes once again to push the lead back out to 10. Ten-point game with 12 minutes and 50 seconds left. UMass Boston would love to get this back to maybe 2 possessions before the start of the fourth. Vital drives, kicks it near side. Matthew will give it up, gives a deeper 3 for Dixon, who drains it. Megan Dixon with her second big 3 of the game, and the lead is 7 for UMass Dartmouth.
And that's something you need from the Beacons offense on that. And Megan Dixon just doing a great job of just catch and shoot, and that's something that she just specializes in. And once again, hitting those long NBA threes.
Exum gets it back from Q Teal, is blocked. Matthew and Exum fighting for it. And we've got a foul. I think it's going to be on Matthew, but at least it prevents Exum from going up with it.
I believe it's only Katie Mel. It's Katie Matthews' second foul. I was going to say, I thought it was only her first, so not too much damage done there. But I agree, Seth. You rather have, well, I guess it wasn't a shooting foul as they're calling it now, but still, get Exum on the line where she's not as good as a shooter as she is in the paint.
Either way, it just prevents a possible easy 2 as they try to force it for Exum, and this time Matthew with the steal. UMass Dartmouth has turned the ball over more here in the third quarter than they did in the first two combined. Beacons bring on Quinones and Jackson in there for Vital and Grassi. Quinones looks to drive on the smaller Gonzalez, and that's a reach-in foul on Danielle Gonzalez. Originally was confused by the foul, but she'll now accept it. 4 on the Corsairs and 2 on Gonzalez. So nobody on either side has more than 2 fouls at this point. Gonzalez in there for Q Teal. Jelani Jackson looking for Dixon, who will drive around, and there's a lot of contact and a charge. Dixon went knee right into the chest of the smaller Gonzalez. Just the first on Dixon, third on UMass Boston, and that's one of those frustrating ones for the Beacons as they are getting the defensive stops they couldn't get in the first half, just not getting enough buckets here in quarter number 3.
Yeah, it seems like they've, flip-flop roles a little bit here in this second half that they're doing, but you still got the fourth quarter to work with. You got 1:45 left in this third quarter, so nothing Coach Baugh can't fix.
Examon triple team leaves a wide open 3 for Dowdy from the corner, and the first 3 of the game for UMass Dartmouth makes it a 10-point game.
And I get it, the Corsairs aren't a big three-point shooting team, which is fine, but when you leave a player like that, and I get the story behind it, 3 players, you got a triple team on Examon, but when you leave a player open for that long, it's hard for her not to make that bucket.
Quinones had the lane, but well off the mark, and another defensive rebound for Examon, who's certainly being elbowed and pushed around a little bit down low as the Beacons try to get into her head a little bit. Chance to extend this lead back out to 12 or potentially 13 for UMass Dartmouth. Here with the minute to go in the quarter, Examon catches underneath and is fouled by Williams. There's a nice pass from, I believe, Gonzalez up top to find a wide open Examon. And the Beacons now, after cutting the deficit back down to 7, trail by 10.
And it seems like the Beacons are doing, they just can't find a way to stop Examon. She gets those wide open, they double team her, they triple team her, and this is what the Corsairs want. You double team her, that leaves one player open at the least. And Matt Ducharme is just running his offense, in the best way that he can, using Examon's strengths.
Examon 1 of 2 as Brown nearly saved it. Seen UMass Dartmouth get to more of their missed free throws than the Beacons. 51.8 left. The Beacons could play for a 2-for-1 as Q Teal and Examon both on the bench right now for UMass Dartmouth. Jackson walking it up. She's out there with Quinones, Williams, Matthew, and Dixon. Dixon, the catch, looks to drive. Quadruple team, tried to get it out, but it was knocked away by the hands of Lauren Empey. Gonzalez ahead for Korzik. Now it's Milligan looking to drive. The scoop is short, and the shot clock's turned off with 28 seconds. See what the Beacons elect to do here. Dixon tries to find Jackson and does so. Jackson nearly went up and down, able to hold it on like a ballerina there. Front rim no good on the 3, and Brown catches it. It's a 3-on-1 with 12 seconds left. Ahead for Milligan, and the lead is as large as it's been at 13. Beacons are not rushing here with 4-3. They don't recognize it running clock, and they're not going to get a shot off. That is as disappointing an end to the quarter as UMass Boston can possibly have. Cut it down from 12 to 7. UMass Dartmouth ends on a 6-0 run, and the Beacons unaware of situational basketball.
You saw their captain, Katie Matthews, just pushing her team a little bit. She's clapping her hands. She's like, "Hey, we gotta pick our heads up, and we gotta get things going."
UMass Boston really running that last minute pretty poorly from an X's and O's standpoint. We'll see if they can improve in quarter number 4. They'll face their biggest battle of the night as they're now down 13 with 10 minutes to play.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and I know how powerful words can be. The term gay doesn't mean stupid, lame, or less than.
So I pledge to speak up if I hear the term gay used in a derogatory way or any other homophobic terms.
If you can play in Division III.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and my teammates unconditionally accepted me as part of their family. So now I pledge to do the same for others. If you can play in Division III.
Both teams out on the floor with 10 minutes left. UMass Boston's going to send a different looking lineup out there. Quinones, Osborne, Matthew, Vital, and Whitney Fulton, who has not seen much time tonight. For UMass Dartmouth, Gonzalez, Brown, Empey, Milligan, and Korzik, as Empey's well off the mark. And UMass Boston desperately needs to get some points here to start the quarter with both Teal and Examon off the floor, as Fulton can't make the catch. And the Beacons, another turnover.
And I think just in this half alone, they've just accumulated just so many turnovers already. And you see Lydia Vital there with the right idea. She was trying to get the momentum going. She was trying to push the ball. And I don't know if Whitney Fulton just wasn't ready for it. She wasn't prepared to receive that pass. But, you know, Vital's got the right mentality there. You got to get the momentum going in these last 10 minutes.
Beacons now have 14 turnovers as the lead is stretched out to 15. Largest it's been with Examon back out on the floor, and Nakira Examon continues to be a player the Beacons struggle to stop. Examon up to 20 points and 8 rebounds. Vital looking to drive on Gonzalez, baseline. Quinones, the three, knocks it down. That's kept the Beacons in this game for the most part as it cuts the deficit down to 12 with 9 minutes left.
Yeah, Seth, but I don't care how many threes you hit. If you can't play it on the defensive end, then, you know, well, what's the point of it?
Teal the catch, a really nice feed from the near wing, and she's fouled by Katie Matthew with exactly 9 to play. That's 3 on Matthew. And, Gigi, I think you're right. I mean, the Beacons have played better defense than the first game. They've held UMass Dartmouth, the second top leading scoring team in the conference, the 7th leading scoring offense in all of Division III to 56, making 57 thus far. But still too many if UMass Boston's going to find themselves sitting in the mid-40s at this point of the game.
Yeah, well, when your defense is, you know, well, let's put it this way. If you watch the Super Bowl, it's like the Pats defense. You got a guy like Tom Brady who runs an amazing offense, as do the Beacons. But if your defense isn't performing, then, you know, what's the point?
And in basketball, even more so, defense leads the offense. And Beacons have not been able to convert turnovers, which they've started to be able to generate, into points off turnovers as Quinones picks up the dribble over for Vital. Deficit back out to 14. Fulton with 10 on the shot clock. Dangerous pass for Quinones, down to 6, across, tapped away by Milligan. And the Beacons will have to inbound with 5.
Is it just me, Seth, or do the Beacons look like they have no idea what they're running right now? They look a little confused. They get the ball. They don't know who to pass it to. They're not moving around. They're kind of just standing still.
I think UMass Dartmouth at this point is very loud as Osborne the catch from Vital and the finish with both her and Examon going down to the floor. But UMass Dartmouth's bench, they're on their feet. They're loud. They're calling out things. The Beacons bench looks a little dejected at this point. A couple hands in their heads as there's a nice tap away by Osborne. Beacons down 12. Vital in transition draws the foul on Korzik from behind. Just the first on UMass Dartmouth. And the Beacons will get a new 30 with 8:12 to play.
And I like that the Beacons here, well, at least in the last play, Lydia Vital, you know, feeding Shania Osborne. We haven't seen her so much here in the second half as I would have liked personally.
Well, I think Osborne's the only player in the conference who to some degree is Quinones has it stripped away by Teal, can actually play with Nakira Examon on both ends of the ball. I mean, Examon's the better player because of her quickness. But Osborne can at least hold her own on the offensive end as well, as right now UMass Dartmouth's going to kill some clock, down to 10 on the shot clock, and we've got a hand check foul on Whitney Fulton. Joie Grassi will check in, and she'll replace Quinones, who's struggled to find as much time in the rotation, with Megan Dixon returning and Shania Osborne getting healthy. Examon double team finds Teal from the wing, knocks it down. Alicia Teal, one of the better three-point shooters on UMass Dartmouth, and the lead as large as it's been today at 15.
And Teal, you know, she's only 10 for 33 from the three-point range, but still, like I said before, when you leave a player open like that, and even though you got Joie Grassi with her hands up, you know she's a decent three-point shooter. You can't leave her open like that.
Vital forces a three on the other end as the Beacons trying to match 3 for 3, and Danielle Gonzalez called for too many steps. 7:18 to go, and Gigi, obviously you want to win this game. It's not over yet, but if nothing else over the final 7-18, the Beacons have to win this 7-18 to give them confidence that if they do have a third battle with UMass Dartmouth, that they feel they can make themselves feel like they can win it. Because with the regional rankings coming out today and UMass Dartmouth 6th and UMass Boston not even in the top 12, it's become readily apparent that the Beacons have one way to make it to the NCAA tournament, and that's to beat likely this Corsairs team.
Well, you're only down 15 points, and you have 7 minutes left, which is a lot of time left in basketball. But the thing is their inconsistency. You know, they get a point on the offensive end, and then they can't make a defensive stop. Or let's say they get 2 defensive stops, but they can't convert and get any points out of those turnovers. The inconsistency on both sides of the court right now is what's killing the Beacons. And the Corsairs are just doing just the opposite. You know, they get the stop, they get the steal, they get the rebound, and they convert for those points. And I wish we had the stats of, you know, the points made off of turnovers for the Corsairs and for the Beacons and just see the drastic difference.
Well, I can actually pull that up for you. For UMass Dartmouth, I think a big advantage at this point is they're used to these big games. And not just this year. I mean, going to the Elite Eight last year with pretty much this same group has to be a confidence boost. The Beacons haven't played that many of these big games with so many freshmen on the roster. UMass Boston's turned it over 16 times. UMass Dartmouth's turned it over 13 times. The advantage is 19-4 in points off turnovers.
And there you have it, and that's a difference maker here in this game.
Osborne can't quite get it, and that's turnover number 20 for the Beacons. Out of a timeout, that's inexcusable for UMass Boston to turn it over, and to turn it over in such a sloppy way on the inbounds.
And you know exactly where the ball's going. You know what you have to do. You've run this play so many times before that, like you said, Seth, it's inexcusable. Can't have that. The momentum has just shifted.
Beacons with 20 turnovers with 7 minutes left as Examon's too strong. Grassi the rebound. Can the Beacons come up with some points? That's been the thing. They have not been able to score consistently as Grassi tried to find Matthew, deflected, but gets over to Katie. Finds Vital, who's called for the travel. She couldn't believe it. It looked like she was very close to stepping on the sideline, but traveling was the call.
Yeah, I couldn't see it here from my angle, so whatever the call is, it is, but Beacons back on defense, and right now they need to stop. When you get 5 minutes on the clock, they're getting close to that point, you need to start playing that nitty-gritty defense and start getting those points.
Danielle Gonzalez screaming at QTL to get out of the way. Finds Examon working on Osborne, and she's off the mark. Shania Osborne has held her own against Examon here in the second half. Pass for Osborne ends up outside the three-point line. 6:06 to go, and the Beacons have not made any headway here in quarter number 4. Vital over for Fulton, couldn't make the catch. Wide open Grassi. Boy, do the Beacons need this one, and it's too strong. Fulton will take an even deeper three, front rim no good, and Danielle Gonzalez, smallest player for UMass Dartmouth, grabs the rebound. We've got a foul on Grassi for Gonzalez running straight into her. Smart play there, a veteran play by Gonzalez as she was initiating the contact and able to draw the foul, the third on Grassi.
And that's something, if you're Joie Grassi, that's a foul you don't want to give up there. You know you're not fast enough to keep up with Gonzalez, and you don't want to give up that easy foul. Now I believe that's her third.
It is, as Korzik's too strong. Osborne the rebound over for Vital. 5:30 to go. Fulton around for Grassi. Examon closed her out. Grassi draws contract well off the mark. And Joey's frustrated. She has drawn a lot of contact today that has not ended in a foul. And sometimes that's the way the referees call it. And she has not been getting the points she would like as Examon off on the second chance this possession, off on the third. QTL grabs it and it's out of bounds off the Beacons.
Just why, what I don't understand here, Seth, is why are the Corsairs getting so many second, third, and even fourth chance opportunities at this point? Examon gets her own rebound twice, I believe, throws it up, and then QTL gets her rebound, and that's a tough part of the Corsairs for not being able to finish those shots. But if you're the Beacons, you can't keep letting them get those rebounds and those second chance opportunities.
Beacons send Osborne and Grassi to the bench. Williams and Kelsey replace them. The runner is off the mark. Examon can't corral the rebound. It's off of her. Well, Gigi, I think the only adjustment you can make if you're UMass Boston is you need to send 3 rebounders against Examon and QTL. If those two are both down there, you have to have numbers because you're not going to necessarily grab the rebound. And even if you do, it could get tapped out of your hands. We've seen that happen quite a few times. Vital over for Fulton, who struggles with the catch. Entry pass for Williams tapped around. UMass Boston, they're just trying things that are not working as Korzik finds a wide open QTL who can't finish, and then it's punched away by QTL. UMass Dartmouth will slow it down with the new 30. This fourth quarter has been a bad one for UMass Boston. They have not been able to execute, and they're letting UMass Dartmouth really get into their heads as Korzik draws to the foul and will head to the line for 2.
I think you said it best there, Seth, is the Beacons are just trying out things that aren't working for them. They're not playing their game. They're rushing passes. They're shooting shots that are not the shots that they like to take. And it's just, it's dwelling down. It's like a domino effect. You know, one person starts it and it keeps going throughout the entire team. And they kind of changed that. There's 4 minutes and 15 seconds left in this game.
Korzik well off on the first. On the year, now 10 of 16 from the free throw line. Her second one is too strong. Williams the rebound. It's a 15-point game. It has been a 15-point game for a while now. Neither side has scored in over 2 minutes. Mazik just checked in for Matthew. Mazik over for Kelsey, who's been quiet in this one, just like she was in the first game. Williams over for Kelsey with 7 on the shot clock, draws contact over for Williams, the 4-foot bunny, and that's big as that at least gets the Beacons back on the scoreboard.
Yeah, I think they went on what, I want to say about a 2 to 3 minute run there without scoring any points.
And I don't think UMass Dartmouth really had scored much in that span as Kelsey gives the foul on Examon. 3:31 to go. It's now 5 fouls on the Beacons, just 1 on the Corsairs. Kelsey, one of several Beacons with 3 fouls on the day. And for 2.5, 3 quarters, it looked like UMass Boston was playing with UMass Dartmouth. Despite being down 7, 8 points, they were in this game as Examon knocks down the first. Certainly an improvement on game number 1 at UMass Dartmouth, but now it looks like the Beacons are going to have to not only find a way to get closer than 7 or 8, they're going to have to do it on the road at UMass Dartmouth. Vital into the front court with Osborne waiting to check in. The deficit is back up to 15. Kelsey, the ball fake, and is blocked by QTL. Tries to save it, but stays out of bounds.
There you have it again. The Beacons are just trying to, they're forcing the ball right now. They're not getting the shots that they want. They're doing way too much, and they're trying to get out of their comfort zone, which in a game like this is if you know you're a three-point shooter, you want to get those open three-point looks. If you know you're a post player, that's where you want to be and get the ball. You don't want to be out of your comfort zone in a game like this.
Milligan, the drive, left hand lane is good, and the lead is as large as it's been at 17. UMass Boston still having a great year at 19-2, soon to be 19-3, but they're going to have a lot of questions coming forward as Examon hacks Osborne, who finishes, but there's no visual reaction from Shania, with their team down by 15, 2:47 left.
That's something that you want to see. You wanted to see a little bit earlier from Shania and from all the Beacons in general. You know, get that basket and the extra point there.
Well, give Nakira Examon a lot of credit. She picked up her second foul with 8:47 left in the second. Picks up her third foul with 2:50 left in the fourth. So Examon has been able to avoid further foul troubles. Fouled out just once this year at Bowdoin. Milligan in the lane, off the mark. Kelsey the rebound. Deficit 14 with 2:30 to left. Kelsey drew some contact, can't finish. Ball batted around, and it's controlled by Mazik. Finally kicked out of bounds by Gonzalez. And it'll stay with UMass Boston. Remember, stick with us for game number 2 tonight. We'll have the men's teams ranked 4th and 5th in the LEC in the standings. Big game for a potential home LEC quarterfinal game in 2 weeks. QTL gets a hand on it, taps it over for Korzik. Tapped right back by Kelsey. Beacons can't communicate, and they turn it over once again. Should be turnover number 22 or 23 of the night for UMass Boston.
That just seems to be something so common that you said there, Seth. The Beacons can't seem to communicate, and it's been happening in this entire fourth quarter.
Gonzalez down low for Examon, blocked by Osborne as Dixon grabs the loose ball. Vital, the stutter step, trying to get over for Mazik. And again, even when the Beacons are able to complete passes, they're not on point. That's a great pass from Vital for Osborne. Maybe a little bit too little, too late, but still good to see as the Beacons are within 12 for the first time, I believe, in the quarter. Take a break along with the teams. UMass Boston trails 65-53 with 1:44 to play.
What separates UMass Boston from other schools is the fact that a large percentage of students commute. For me, it takes 2 hours each day to go to and from school, but every second has been worth it because the students that come here are serious about learning, they value their education, and understand where it'll take them in the future. This is what UMass Boston means to me.
Minute 44 to go in game number 1 of our Little East Conference doubleheader. It's UMass Dartmouth leading by 12 points in a matchup of the top 2 teams in the Little East Conference. The Corsairs will all but wrap up the LEC regular season title, what would be their first in program history if they can hold on here over the final 104 seconds. UMass Boston 1 win away from setting a new program record in wins, but right now it looks like they might have to wait until Saturday at 1 when they host Plymouth State. See if UMass Boston can generate a couple turnovers and some quick points. They're going to put a full court press in effect right now as Jackson taps the ball out of bounds on the inbounds. For UMass Dartmouth, it's Brown, Houlihan, Dowdy, Cutiel, and Examon. They're starting 5. For the Beacons, it's Kelsey, Jackson, Mazik, Dixon, and Osborne. Houlihan double team, passes it ahead. It got deflected, but Brown comes back to the ball. Cutiel from the free throw line and no rush. Still 19 on the shot clock. And the Corsairs will set up. Brown across for a wide open Cutiel. She'll jack up the 3 off the mark, but who's there? It's Ashley Round. One of the smaller players in the paint on that possession grabs it. Cutiel working on Osborne. Dixon comes over and it's out of bounds off the Beacons.
Something I do like, though, from the Beacons, you know, it's a 12-point game at this point, just a minute left. You know you're not really going to win this game, but they're still playing hard, and I think that's what Coach Ball wants to see out of them is at this point, you know you're not going to win it. You might as well still run the court and see what you can and can't get out of this game.
Well, we talked about it with 7 minutes left. It was a 15-point game. We wondered, could the Beacons at least win the last 7 minutes, give themselves some confidence? They've been doing a much better job here in the second half defensively. Gave up 37 points in the first half as Kelsey called for the foul on Cutiel, head to the line for 2. Right now they've only let up 28 points in the second half. Just the offense, we've seen it come in ebbs and flows.
Yeah, well, you talk about the seniors at the beginning of the game, Seth, when you mentioned the keys to this game. And you got Raven Kelsey, who has 4 fouls, and I'm pretty sure she doesn't even have 4 points in this game. And that right there just shows you, I believe she had 1 3-pointer, but she's not producing so much on the offensive end, which, you know, you don't need that every day in and out from her because she is a great defensive player as well. But in games like this, when you need your seniors to step up and you need players like her to do her job, you know, she's got to perform a little bit better.
Yeah, you were 100% on the mark. Kelsey now with 3 points as Cutiel knocks down a pair. Mazik hard to the hoop. Examon tried to draw the charge, doesn't get it, but Mazik misses anyways. Brown will dribble over towards her bench. 20-second difference between shot clock and game clock. The Corsairs might not even shoot it. We talked about the Beacons. They're 3 seniors, 1 of 18 the last time against UMass Dartmouth. They have 4 made field goals this time, but are still shooting pretty paltry percentage as Examon able to hold on to the loose ball. And now there's a 3-second difference between shot clock and game clock after yet another offensive rebound. UMass Dartmouth has 16 of them. It feels like more. And we'll see Brown head to the line for 2 more free throws after a foul with just 19.1 left.
I for sure thought that last one was going to be called on Raven Kelsey, and I was going to say, hey, foul out of the game already so soon, but Megan Dixon gets charged there with the foul, and there's only 19 seconds left. It wasn't really needed, but again, a chance for Ashley Brown to rack up some more points, and she's been great this entire game. She's gotten, great looks from the field. She's played very good defense. She's been pushing this offense, on both sides of the court, and she's just a great game for Ashley Brown.
Yeah, we talked about the battle of the bigs and maybe the Beacons offense. We've got a reaching call on Houlihan with 16.5 seconds left. It won't lead to free throws. That's just the third on the Corsairs, but it will stay with the Beacons. You look at Ashley Brown, and Brown has 9 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. This Corsairs team has gotten really good production from their role players and tremendous play in transition. That's been a huge difference maker as Jackson can't convert on the 3. Teal another rebound, and that will do it from our first game of this doubleheader. UMass Dartmouth, a 15-point winner after winning by 30 points down at Dartmouth 3 weeks ago. These two teams could face a third time in the LEC finals, potentially. UMass Boston will have to make their way through Southern Maine first. But 2 games, 2 wins for the Corsairs, and the Beacons will have to win down in Dartmouth. They have a chance of potentially making it to their first ever LEC tournament. We'll head down low, see if Christina Baugh is game for an interview, and then we'll have our post-game show before we bring you our men's game, as it's UMass Dartmouth 68, UMass Boston 53 from here in Boston.
I'm Elizabeth Clavin, sophomore business management major from Edina, Minnesota. I love being a part of this volleyball team. Volleyball is what brought me to UMass Boston. I looked at our recruiting website one last time and saw UMass Boston on it, came out for a visit the next week, and it kind of hit all the boxes that I was looking for. In a good city, good academic school, good volleyball program, it had everything I wanted. Although it was far away from home, I knew this is where I wanted to be. Winning 6 back-to-back LEC titles is really a dynasty, I think, and Terry has really focused hard on recruiting and building this dynasty and continuing to build a program that can continue to win championships, and it's really lucky to be a part of something this great. Last year I was the Little East Conference Defensive Player of the Year, All-Conference second team, NCAA Regional MVP of the regional tournament, ABC All-Region Honorable Mention, and New England Women's Volleyball Association All-Rookie Team and Honorable Mention. I think my favorite game would have to be playing in the regional championship last year. We played against a really good Williams team, and I think that match, we started off a little shaky and lost the first set. We've lost in the whole playoff season, and I think that kind of shook us a little bit. We came back firing, and we're ready to go those next couple games. Our coaches are bringing in a lot of really strong girls who want to make a commitment and make an impact in this program, and I think that is why we're continuing to do well and will continue to do well for the next few years. Being a student here has been really awesome as well. I've recently started taking more of my business classes and found that's a good choice and a good fit for me. And eventually I hope to open my own business and kind of be successful and do what I love at the end of the day.
UMass is very public service focused, and it piqued my interest, and I started doing more research on it. I'm very focused on what can I do to make the world around me a better place. My name is Lydia Grasso. I'm a junior at UMass Boston studying sociology and minoring in human rights. What I want to do is I want to work with women and children transitioning out of sexual slavery in Southeast Asia and helping them to find jobs, find housing, provide counseling, just the things that we kind of take for granted. Because I won the Chancellor Scholarship at UMass, it allowed me to go to Cambodia. I was working at the Sihanouk Hospital Center of Hope in Cambodia, and it was just an amazing opportunity to just be able to get firsthand experience working with a human rights research project. Cambodia was really ravaged by a genocide, so there's a lot of rebuilding that's happening. I was in the place of something horrible that had happened. I could either go home and kind of forget about that experience and kind of block it out, or I could do something so that things like that never happened again. UMass provides me with opportunities that I wouldn't get anywhere else and gives me a global perspective in a public setting. I definitely transformed at UMass.
UMass Boston is founded on a notion of impact. The Center for Peace, Democracy, and Development is a place where faculty and students can take a lot of the concepts and ideas that we are teaching in the classroom and take them into the field and actually make a difference. Beyond our work in Boston, we have projects in Nigeria, Israel, Palestine, Northern Ireland, South Africa, Ecuador, Colombia. Through our work in the field with a lot of important actors like the U.S. State.
Join my head coach, Christina Bach. Coach, you've played this UMass Dartmouth team twice. First time it was a blowout the whole way. This game you were probably competitive for 28, almost 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You know you're probably going to see him again. What are the positives you take away from this game in terms of maybe learning something about your team and learning how you attack UMass Dartmouth?
Yeah, we weren't scared today, you know. That was the goal, is just for us to fight for 40 minutes, and I thought we did it for about 35. So I'm happy with our team right now. We couldn't buy a basket. We shot too many threes. But, you know, against a team like that, we stuck to the game plan in the first 20 minutes. Once we got some mental fatigue, kind of went away from it. But yeah, we're one step closer to beating them.
You've got 3 games left in the regular season, and then potentially you should have an LEC quarterfinal game here at home. How important is it to sort of figure out some of your lineups? I know you have a lot of players banged up at this point. We saw some lineups today that we haven't seen much at all season here against UMass Dartmouth.
Yeah, that'll be something important that we play around with in the next couple games to kind of figure out what works. But that's hard too, because you just never know which kid is ready to go. So you end up going a little bit deeper, or trying to find a spark. You know, that's kind of the role of the bench. Who's going to bring some effort to the game, you know, that gives us a spark, we see something different. So that'll be my job, to figure that out over the next couple games.
And finally, what's the biggest key in practice the next couple days to come in focused for a Plymouth State team that maybe isn't as good on paper, but obviously in this conference, any team can earn that big upset win?
Yeah, it's the same every night, man. Defend, rebound, and communicate. That won't change. If we do those, we have a chance to win every night.
Thanks so much for your time, Coach. Good luck. Right now, we'll take a look at the highlights from this second half and then take a look at the final stats here from Boston. Up her second foul. She'll find Osborne. Osborne gets around and underneath Examon and able.
Within, you know, single digits in this deficit, and try to get your momentum going a little bit.
Grassi gets the very Vital in transition all the way, stutter stepping her near side. Matthew will give it up, gives a deeper 3 for Dixon, who drains it. Megan Dix. Examon triple team leaves a wide open 3 for Dowdy from the corner, and the first 3 of the Vital looking to drive on Gonzalez baseline. Quinones the 3 knocks it down. That's passes. They're not on point. That's a great pass from Vital for Osborne. We'll take a quick look through the final stats and team leaders. UMass Boston didn't shoot quite as bad as they did in the first game, but still just 31.7%, easily their lowest at home this year as they fall to 9-1 at home. UMass Dartmouth at 39.4%, 8 more field goal attempts than the Beacons. UMass Boston 7 of 26 from distance. UMass Dartmouth 2 of 7. Rebounds within 5, but the Corsairs still hold the edge. Corsairs with 17 of their 48 rebounds on the offensive end. Assists pretty even. The Beacons with 21 turnovers versus 13 for the Corsairs. And UMass Dartmouth a 21-4 edge in points off turnovers, a 42-18 edge in points in the paint. Take a look at the team leaders from this one. Nakira Examon, another double-double, 20 and 11 in 29 minutes. Struggled from the field, 8 of 22, but she did have 8 offensive rebounds, 8 of her 11. 18 points from Alicia Cutiel for the Corsairs, and Ashley Brown, a tremendous game, 9 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. For UMass Boston, 2 players with 11 points, Joie Grassi and Shania Osborne, also their leading rebounds with 8 and 7. Actually, I didn't even see Gianna Williams, 10 rebounds at the bottom. So the freshmen really had the best games for the Beacons on offense and rebounding. Lydia Vital with a strong production as well. 6 assists, 3 steals, but just the 4 points in 29 minutes. Looking ahead for UMass Boston, the good news is they'll be back in action soon. That'll happen on Saturday at 1 p.m. when UMass Boston hosts Plymouth State. And then they're on the road on Wednesday, traveling to Southern Maine in their last road game of the regular season before closing it out next Saturday against Western Connecticut State on Senior Day for the Beacons 3 seniors. I'd like to give our crew a shout-out real quick before we close it out. You see that question mark at the bottom. That's Alex Carasoto. Never know what kind of game he's going to give. Did a pretty good job on camera. My name is Seth Dorensky, joined by Gigi Braga on the call, Anthony Searles, Rachel Nasdaq, and Alyssa Fugel. We're our directors and instant replay operators, Alex Gibbs, Bree Colucci, Eileen Shee, and Alex Carasoto on camera. That'll do it from Boston. UMass Dartmouth wins by 15 to move to 11-0 in conference and pretty much wrap up the #1 seed in the LEC regular season standings. That'll do it. And we'll be back in hopefully just 2 to 3 minutes for game number 2 of our doubleheader. Hello and welcome to rainy Boston, Massachusetts for game number 2 of our Little East Conference doubleheader. It's the lone men's game of the night. We've got the team sitting in 4th and 5th in the Little East Conference standings as UMass Dartmouth tries to keep their streak of 5 consecutive finishes in the top 4 of the Little East, while UMass Boston, who sits in 4th place currently, looks to earn their first home game in LEC tournament play since 2006. My name is Seth Dorensky, joined by Gigi Braga shortly, as UMass Boston and UMass Dartmouth about to get underway in the second half of our doubleheader. Right now, we'll take a look at the team statistics. And when you look at these two sides, you see a UMass Dartmouth team that has the top 2 rebounders in the conference in Joshua Amati and Rinzi Obiora, versus the Beacons team that their biggest weakness has been their rebounding. The other side, you have the weakest defensive team in the conference in UMass Dartmouth at 81.8 points per game allowed versus the Beacons team that stands nearly 10 points better. They're a team that likes to play at a slower pace and plays with a lot of defensive tenacity. So some differences in style between the two sides. Move along to the team leaders. For UMass Dartmouth, they lost 4 starters from last year's team, including 4 all-conference players. They've relied heavily on the combination of Obiora, the junior out of Lagos, Nigeria, and Amadi, the senior out of Lynn, Massachusetts, along with a key freshman player in Jake Ashworth. Ashworth, the conference's top 3-point shooter and free throw shooter, has been absolutely huge for this team, including going off for 15 points and a career-high 11 rebounds. And the first contest between the two sides, a UMass Boston 72-68 win. For the Beacons, it's been their freshmen who have been big all season long, but especially as of late. Michael Boyd, the reigning Little East Conference Rookie of the Week, has been phenomenal, including going off for 24 this past Saturday in a 14-point loss at Eastern Connecticut State. Charles Mitchell has led the Beacons and has been one of the top 3-point shooters in the country all season long, to go along with his twin brother, Charlie Mitchell, who has picked up his offensive game over the past couple of weeks. Take a look right now at the all-time series, and UMass Boston has accomplished something they'd never done before. Won 2 games in a row against the Corsairs. The Beacons won on the road last year, a buzzer-beating 3 by Alex Sanchez to split the season series, and then won down at UMass Dartmouth on January 17th. Today they'll look to do something they have not done in quite a while, win here at home. The Beacons are 1-10 in their last 11 home games and won just once. That came back in February of 2015 when the Beacons stunned the Corsairs 79-75 in a matchup of a 2-7 Beacons team in conference play and a 7-2 Corsairs side. Right now we'll take a look at a quick commercial before we bring you the head coaches and potentially the starting lineup. Still waiting for those up here in our Beacons Broadcast Network press box. So we'll take a moment, and then we'll be back with the first half of this Little East Conference matchup.
Paris changed my life, and I got there through UMass. Those very specific seminal moments in Paris, the subway. A man in a tuxedo walked in, and a woman in a long gown. And it was stunning. It all hit me. It was like a lightning bolt. There was this world of beauty and style that I wanted to be a part of. That was the beginning of the journey. And that all came through the University of Massachusetts. And that was really a key moment for me. That's one of those moments you never forget.
The University of Massachusetts Boston. It's just minutes from downtown, and the Princeton Review calls it one of the best values in the country. A nationally recognized institution of academic excellence and research, UMass Boston offers more than 150 undergraduate and graduate programs, 16 Division III sports, and more than 100 student organizations. To learn more about the opportunities waiting for you at UMass Boston, visit in person or online. UMass Boston, a research university with a teaching soul.
Right now, we'll take a look at the starting lineups and also head coach Brian Baptiste for UMass Dartmouth. You can just see him peeking out at the end of the line on the right. Baptiste, one of the shorter guys in that huddle, but certainly a legend of Division III basketball. Baptiste, one of the few coaches over 600 career wins amongst active coaches. He's led UMass Dartmouth to 13 NCAA tournaments, a 7-time Little East Conference Coach of the Year, and led the team all the way to the Final Four back in 1993. And the man to his left, who doesn't have his coat buttoned up right now, Isaac Jenkins in the spectacles, he's a local legend as well. He played 2 years with UMass Boston to close out his career after playing 2 years of JUCO basketball out in California, and then went on to play professionally in Italy. So a little bit of a tie to both schools for today's matchup. On the other side, you can't see Jason Harris amongst the crowd right now, but Harris in his third season, compared to 35 for Baptiste, is looking for his first ever home win against UMass Dartmouth. Beacons haven't won since Charlie Titus's final year behind the bench. After spending 7 years at Division I, LIU Brooklyn returned to the Little East Conference, where he not only played as a player at Rhode Island College, but also spent a year as an interim head coach at Plymouth State. Bringing the starters right now with no graphics available. Beacons will go with Dason Sinelli, Michael Boyd, Dan Powers, James Hawkins Jr., and Charles Mitchell. Hawkins Jr. had a big first game against the Corsairs with 4 second-half blocks to go along with 7 points and 6 rebounds. Still waiting for the Corsairs starting 5. Looks like we have a bit of an issue at the scorer's table with a possession arrow, which is causing a little bit of the hold-up. On the other side for UMass Dartmouth, they're going to go with Atakan Akam, the junior out of Ankara, Turkey, alongside Jake Ashworth, the conference's leading free throw and three-point shooter. Brandon Williams Jr., the sophomore out of Dorchester, Mass. Local kid who led St. Clement High School to a Division IV state title back in 2014. Those three are out there with Marquise Jones, the sophomore guard out of Randolph, Mass., and Arinze Obiora, the junior out of Lagos, Nigeria, who is just having a phenomenal season, including a 30-point game against Castleton, future LEC opponent, in the Hampton Inn Tournament Championship game where he was named MVP of the tournament. UMass Dartmouth wins the tip. The Beacons in a man-to-man in the white uniforms. It's Jones with it, looking to drive. Takes the Euro step, able to find a teammate in Cam, and now it's Williams Jr. with 10. Strong drive over Hawkins. Rebound is loose, tapped up by Obiora, and ends up in the hands of Charles Mitchell. The game clock is off on the near side. Shot clock is working, but they're going to have to fix that at some point. Boyd across for Powers into the corner for Charles Mitchell. Able to find Sinelli. Sinelli looking for Hawkins. It's tapped up. Right back for Sinelli, who will kick it across for Powers. One more swing for Boyd. And now Charles Mitchell from deep off the mark. Powers will tap it out, but Obiora is the closest player to it. He loses it. Sinelli able to find Boyd, and it's tied up. The Beacons will get it back. And now I'm joined by our newly fresh color commentator Gigi Braga.
Yeah, Seth, great to be here. You know, took a little hiatus over there from the women's game, but we're back and we're ready for this. You know, see the men's team play, you know, 5th and 4th seed here for the LEC. You know, it was a big game for both sides.
Boyd over for Charles Mitchell. Back to the near side for Sinelli and Hawkins. Eakins looking for their first shot inside the three-point line. Michael Boyd had a huge game the first time against UMass Dartmouth. Game high 24 and was able to get to the hoop at will. Powers a deep three, knocks it down. And UMass Boston the early 3-0 lead.
And we saw Dan Powers, and he, you know, if you've been keeping up with UMass Boston athletics, he's just one of those guys who plays such a big role as a senior in this team. And you see him right there, you know, just that hustle that he brings to this team.
Williams Jr. off the mark, and the rebound falls to Powers. Well, while UMass Dartmouth got off to a really strong start, 6-1 before losing a couple players over break, and another player we don't expect to see, Nick Bond, who I don't see dressed for today's game. He was really good for the team before going out right before the UMass Boston game. Beacon's got better second semester because of the addition of Powers, who had a semester of eligibility left. And that's huge for such a young team like UMass Boston to get another veteran leader out there who can really put together some big games as Boyd adds a triple of his own.
You know, just the pace of this game, Seth, as you said, Dan Powers bringing so much energy, but the pace that